Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. I restarted the whole computer and the internet, so, yeah. Hopefully we're good now. Let's keep going. We should be good from here on out. If not, we'll try and adjust. It is a holiday weekend, so it is possible that just, like, everyone in my area, you know what I mean, is off work and at home and watching streaming and stuff, so the network could be congested, I guess. I don't know. Either way, we gotta call the ISP or something at some point, because they should not be throttling us. We spend so much fucking money for the extra speed. Anyway, I'm gonna shut the fuck up about this. Let's get back to the Satanic Panic.
This trend is moving at an accelerating and alarming rate. The growing acceptance of transcendental meditation and other forms of yoga, even by Christians, is only one indication. And this leads to a deepening involvement in the occult without even...
Do I suspect any of my neighbors watch my streams? No.
...realizing it.
Carol Carmichael is a counselor for the organization Spiritual Counterfeits. She also does public speaking on radio and television.
Both my parents had gotten into transcendental meditation. They had gone for their mantras and had told me that this meditation had really changed them and that yoga had changed them. Even through the yoga exercises, that my mother said she felt so much better. So I got involved with yoga. Through yoga, I had heard about a doctor who works for Swami Rama, founder of the Himalayan Institute in Glenview, Illinois. I went
That wasn't the group that was the cult that took over the town, right?
over to the institute.
That was a different one,
began
right?
taking yoga lessons. And from there, I was led to a 5-day seminar down at the Palmer House in Chicago. We had heard about the holistic health movement there through diet and other means that one could really maintain a healthy body, mind, and spirit. That within us, we had a divinity. Through meditation, we could tap into this power and find our real self with a capital S.
That was the
I had
Rajneeshas.
decided on the Himalayan
Thank you.
Institute as my place to get my mantra.
Lance with 500 bits says, "Hail Satan, his servant returns." Thank you.
Swami Rama
I'm really sorry.
had told us that he had the right mantras, that Maharishi Mahesh Yogi did not have the proper ones. Those mantras were $125, but Swami Rama was only charging $30. As I entered in, I sat down his
Don't worry, guys. The Christian church will never ask you for money except for 10% of all of your earnings.
feet as he motioned me to, and he began to tell me things about myself, things that no one really knew about me except myself. He motioned for me to stand up and come near him, and as I did, he put his hand on my head. And when he did, I felt this electrical energy just go all over my head, down through my whole body. I couldn't believe it. This man had power. I'd sat in a church all my life, and nobody I knew had power like that. After I received my mantra, I had a dream. In the dream, I saw a dresser with a nativity scene on it. The nativity scene was put in the drawer by this large hand, and the drawer was closed, and it was as if anything that I'd ever known of Christianity was now being closed away. A Doberman Pinscher came through the door of my room, and as it lunged at me, it hit my chest, and the pain from the lunge awoke me. And I lay there in that dark room.
I'd like to know, in her story, I guess there are kind of three options. A, she really believes this, and this really is a subjective experience she had, albeit a delusional one. B, she's lying, and none of this ever happened, and she doesn't believe any of this, and it's a complete grift. Or C, she believes in God, and she believes Satanism is real, and none of this experience happened to her, but she thinks that it's a lie in service of a greater truth, which is to get people to come to Jesus and reject what she considers to be satanic. Therefore, she thinks the lie is justified. And I so badly want to know which one it is. I'm leaning between B and C, because she doesn't sound genuine enough for it to be A, but I really can't tell. Is this a lie of convenience to make money and get attention and have opportunity? Or does she really believe all this stuff, except she just thinks she needs to make up a scary experience in order to scare people towards Jesus, and she thinks Jesus would be cool with that? I don't know.
And from nowhere, this bolt of electrical current, energy, grabbed a hold of my whole body, and it began to shake me, and my breath was just being sucked in and out. From nowhere, this energy left me, And then I saw Swami Rama's face appear at me, and there were lights all around his face, and he was smiling at me. I knew he traveled on the astral plane, for we'd been told that at this 5-day seminar. And he was now communicating with me
I knew that. They told me at the seminar.
in the spirit world. I'd found God. I'd really reached this other side. I couldn't believe what had happened to me.
Contrary to what the gurus teach, a mantra is the name or code name of a Hindu god, which the Bible says are demons.
I don't really care what the Bible says. I don't care what the woo-woo people think either. But, like, you can't keep sourcing that, man. You can't do it. It's not serious.
Repetition of the mantra is a call to the God that it represents to come and possess you.
Also, the Bible, I want to point this out. The Bible, especially the Old Testament, does not say that everyone else's God is a demon. The Old Testament is pretty inclined towards believing other gods are real, just that you don't worship those gods. You worship the God of Israel.
It's supposed to lead to a union between the meditator and God, or God realization. In fact, this was the primary lie that Satan offered to Eve in the garden, that she could become a god. The human potential movement teaches that we have infinite capabilities, that there is no limit to what our minds can do. The holistic health movement claims that everything we need is already within us. And confluent education, the new wave in public schools, teaches the pupil that he or she is God, perfect and complete within himself. To make this lie believable, Satan offers psychic powers and mystical experiences, particularly the feeling that...
I appreciate that they think psychic powers are real. It's just that they're evil and granted by Satan.
all is one. If all really is one, then God is Satan, good is evil, there are no morals. And this is the primary message of today's rock music.
I wish we weren't in a world full of absolutely deranged fuckbags. That'd be nice.
Powers of satanic deities before they went on stage. They sprinkled chicken's blood on an altar, and they prayed to Satan that he would be with them, just as if you would pray to God to be with you before...
Oh, wait until he sees pink flamingos. He's gonna hate what they do with the chicken in that movie. Lennon Cat with 50 bits says, wow, they had problematic visions and thoughts? How demonic. It's a good thing God never gave anyone prophetic visions or some kind of divine revelation or anything. You gotta understand, it has nothing to do with fairness or equality or equal treatment. It is a team sport. The guy they worship is good. The guy other people worships is bad. That's as simple as it gets. They are not thinking deeper than that. There is no idea of, like, magnanimity. There is no equal rights under their worldview. They are good. Their enemies that are not them are bad. Period. End of thought. That's as far as it goes. Pointing out hypocrisy does not matter to hypocrites. If it mattered, they wouldn't be profoundly hypocritical. That's a power. The ability to be a hypocrite is a power. It's not good, it's evil, it's wrong, but nonetheless, a lot of people use it to their advantage because most people don't want to be hypocrites, and it disallows them from engaging in certain actions. Other people, hypocrites, do so openly and don't care, and they view it as empowering.
Before you went into some endeavor, Richie Blackmore, the former lead singer of the group Deep Purple, he now has a group called Rainbow, admitted to myself and a whole group of people that he astral projects himself around the concert halls while in concert to see if the kids are getting into him, and then chants out names of satanic deities like Beelzebub.
Yeah, that definitely sounds real and not like a drug trip.
And gets the young people chanting this along with them. There are common ingredients that set up the breeding ground for literally sucking these adolescents into this.
German Cow JJ says, Blackmore wasn't the singer, he was the guitarist.
When you bright, gaudy colors flashing around on stage, you've got complete attention. You can put them under a form of hypnotic suggestion, and it's perfect grounds to lay down these demonic lyrics. And it definitely has an effect. On their album covers, you can find the pentagram, the five-pointed star, which represents the goat's head, the bent cross of confusion. All of the occultic signs can be found on their album covers.
In the name of our most exalted God, Satan, Lucifer, I command thee to come forth. Shemham Farash.
Shemham Farash.
Hail, Satan.
One night I was watching a Satan worship service, and
I like that they have Shem, Ham in there. Those are Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Fenekagami says, to be fair, to be human is to be a hypocrite to some extent. Debatable nuance is just permissible hypocrisy. What sets real hypocrites apart from everyone else is how they respond to their own hypocrisy, just like you said. Hypocrisy is inevitable to some extent. I would not disagree with that.
I saw this high priest praying.
But I think we're talking about a difference of degree to the point that is a difference of more than degree. It is a degree to the point that it is a difference of category, almost.
To Satan with as much faith as I'd ever seen any believer pray to God. And it really turned me on. I got excited about it. I thought, all right, this must be the other side, the other force, so I'll try it. And I said, God, if you're real, if you exist, I don't want you in my life anymore. Leave me alone. I want this other power that's there. And I want the reality of this other power.
Come forth and bestow these blessings of hell upon us.
The weird sex parties they must have had must have been so weird.
Hail, Satan!
Hail, Satan!
Dave Hansen is an art and photography teacher at a junior high school in Southern California, where he resides with his family.
All of a sudden, the forces of
To be clear, there's nothing wrong with their weird sex party. It must have been a lot.
It came out of me that I'd never experienced in my life. I'd never really hated anyone. And a deep hatred came for this being. It just overwhelmed me and overpowered me. And I used every word I could think of and words that I'd never even put together before. And as I did this thing against God, I felt this other force come into me. I had goose pimples all up and down my body. I shook. And
There's something about 80s drawings of, like, demons and devils and stuff, like, in that, especially the, like, 80s D&D art style, really hits. I don't know what it is. I'm not an art person, so I can't articulate it, but, like, it's good stuff. Look at this. Come on. What is that? Why is it so
good? I did this thing against God. I felt this other force come into me. I had goose pimples all up and
I don't know what it is. Again, I don't have the words, but there it is.
Down my body, I shook. And I made a commitment to Satan that night that I gave him myself, I gave him my home, my cars, my job, everything that I had, but I couldn't give him my wife and I couldn't give him my little boy at the time. I didn't understand why, but I gave him all of that.
How'd your wife feel about that? Again, probably a made-up story, but still.
I work in the Sunset area, and some of the biggest punk rock clubs around are down there. We took some time out and started going around to a lot of the punk rock clubs. In fact, we brought in a video camera. The first group we saw was a group by the name of the Dead Kennedys, and they began their show by walking out on stage with baby dolls beating them. And they broke into this song, and it began by saying, "I kill children, love to watch them die."
Oh my God, did they actually kill any children? Oh wait, they never have and never did, and they were just trying to be edgy, and they just did the doll thing? Oh, okay, cool. Just checking.
Kill children, make their mamas cry. Squat.
Fenekagami says, with 40 bits. Redmond says, that's the Adolescents, so apparently not even the same band. That's funny. Fenekagami says, basically the difference we're talking about is the difference between saying ending someone robbing you with a knife isn't murder, it's self-defense, and ending a, quote, degenerate isn't murder, it's a societal safe self-defense. Yeah. The degree is so different that it is basically an entirely different kind of hypocrisy.
Watch him in my car, love to hear him scream, feed him poison candy to spoil their Halloween. You go into punk rock clubs today, and these kids come walking in with razor blades sewn into their clothes, and they have a dance they call the bash.
Oh, sorry. Just a Peach said, did you see the tip I made before this, or did it get eaten by the stream dying? Let me look. We didn't have cable. I saw my first horror movie on VHS at a friend's house. It was Maximum Overdrive. Oh, the Stephen King movie? That's a hell of a first horror movie. That's not very good.
And in this dance, they bash their bodies up against each other.
Speaking of tips, if you want to help out get to our next costume tip goal, you can always use the tip link. We're at 888 out of 1250. We're getting close.
And by the time one song is finished, these guys are covered in blood, literally. I would say the majority of the punk singers will get up in their concert halls and say, if you like us, cut yourself for us. And the kids get up and they literally cut themselves. In fact...
I'm sure the club owners would love that. Everyone loves cleaning up blood and the corpses of people cutting themselves, right?
The real commitment of a punk rocker is how many scars he has in there. Now, if you go down to Sunset Boulevard and actually stand in the line with these kids and talk with them, you'll see that they have swastikas burned into their bodies with lit cigarettes. They have occultic things literally carved into them.
They burned a swastika with lit cigarettes, like one at a time. They went and like made with dots like a swastika, or they dragged it around. Because I don't think you can burn yourself a consistent thing by dragging a cigarette around. You need to like do dot art. And I don't know, as much as you should never get a swastika tattoo, I think you should definitely never get a dot swastika tattoo because it would look terrible on top of being a Nazi thing.
Themselves, their hairs are cropped up like mohawks, multicolored, and the whole cry of this is ugliness and rejection to society.
Growing up, I was always involved in sports, and I love sports, but I found that I had the ability to command strength. Different than other people would. Rather than having to work out to get the strength, I could visualize what I wanted to do and then not think of my own strength, but concentrate strength coming from what I thought was my own power into my arms, out of my hands, and whatever it was that I wanted to.
I don't think I said this, by the way, chat. I don't think I can. If I can, great, but I think I'm busy most of the day tomorrow, so I don't think I'll be able to stream. I hope I will, but I don't think I will. Because I'm busy. So that's unfortunate. But just so you know, this is probably the last stream of the month.
Lift whoever it was I wanted to fight or whatever it was that I was doing, running.
So I apologize for that.
Time, it gave me excess amount of strength, almost to the point of sometimes it seemed supernatural.
I could lift up heavy objects with just no problem at all. This was a power the voices were telling me that they were going to give me. And they were going to teach me how to have more power. So that I could help other people.
I started being able to lay in bed at night, and when I was too lazy to go turn off the light, I would will the light to go off. I would sit at the kitchen table, and if I didn't want to go over and get a spoon out of the drawer, I would will that spoon to come out of the drawer.
Almost like...
Yeah, if any of this is true, this just sounds like burgeoning mental illness. Not to get too specific into things, because frankly, embarrassing as far as I'm concerned, from a self perspective. If you're struggling with delusion and stuff, yeah, you can make yourself think you have powers and be like, ooh, I'm gonna do this thing. It never happens, but you think you're doing it. You think you're trying to do it at least. That's just mental illness. That's delusional behavior. You weren't engaging in psychic powers. You were disassociating to the point that you were delusional. And that's not good. It has nothing to do with spirituality or Christianity or the occult or psychic ability. That's a mental health problem. And frankly, maybe for some of you, too many drugs.
Magnetic thoughts began to come into my mind. And the words were meditate, go and meditate. I sat in the stillness of my living room, I remember, and began to hear these voices and sense these presences. The room even began to get very cold. I was now having beings around me. The voice began to tell me that this was Swami Rama.
My wife went away for 3 months, and when she was gone, it really got very intense and very heavy. It was a day and night thing. I would come home from school, I'd pull the shades, take the phone off the hook, lock the door, put the chain on it so no one could come, so no one would know I was home, and I'd start communicating with the spirits. I'd sit down in the
That sounds like paranoia. That sounds like severe paranoia.
living room, and I'd pray, and I'd raise my hands to Satan, and I'd pray to him, and I'd thank him for the blessings that he had for me for the rest of the day. And many times the home would get very icy and very cold, and the spirits would come to me, and then as I got more involved with them, I began to see the spirits.
The deceiving part about having a power like this was that sometimes it seemed I could do good. I was laying in a bed in Rio, and I had a vision of my fiancée in a car accident 8 hours before it even happened. And I concentrated myself in protecting her and holding her from hitting the steering wheel and going through the windshield. As the accident...
You didn't want to give a call and be like, hey, don't, again, I don't think psychic powers are real, but he does. So wouldn't you be like, hey, don't get in a car today, instead of psychically holding her?
It was over. I was on the phone with her just afterwards, spanning the time of 8 hours, and told her that she was okay, and she knew that there was a force protecting her, holding her in the seat.
I started having a reoccurring dream that
So she did have a car accident, though, because you didn't really mention that. She did have a car accident?
was reincarnated from an Egyptian princess who was being persecuted for her
Oh my god, this is just the plot to The Mummy.
various powers that she had. And one night when I woke up from this reoccurring dream, I was bleeding, and I realized that I had been cut in the same spot that this Egyptian princess had been cut in, and I still have that
Oh, okay, there's no Imhotep. It's not The Mummy. It's fine.
scar.
One time when I was very weak in my faith with Satan, I said, prove that you exist and you're real in my life.
More D&D art. Fennikagami with 40 bits says, you know, I think a way more concerning and demonic edgelord trend is the disgusting trend of weird male revenge power fantasy. What I'm talking about is this concerning trend of stories set up to turn this normal good nice guy, and it's basically always a guy, to get royally screwed over by society and at least one woman, and it turns into this edgelord who's basically justified to do whatever he wants and become so cool and secretly everyone likes him. I guess I can't think of a point of reference for what you're... Like, I can't think of a piece of media. I believe you, but I'm just not familiar. Like, the closest thing I could even think to that is, like, why am I blanking on his name? Joel Schumacher's, why am I blanking on the name? Falling Down, thank you. But even then, in Falling Down, it's pretty clear that he's a bad guy. You might be a little sympathetic in a tongue-in-cheek way at the beginning of the movie, but by the end of Falling Down, it's very clear that he's like a psycho asshole who just wants to blame everyone else for his problems when he's an abusive, terrible person.
That night I got home
Shield Hero? I've not seen Shield Hero, so I'm not familiar.
from school. I closed the door, I went out in the garage, and I grabbed a canvas, stuck it up on my easel, I grabbed my paints, and I had a definite purpose in every move that I made, and I knew the whole time I was doing it that another force was physically directing my body, and I knew that something from the unknown world, the non-visual world, was going to become visual, so that it could have more power over my life.
Yeah,
and
I like
could
Falling
encourage me
Down.
more, and I could worship that thing more.
That's probably... Is that my favorite Schumacher movie? Probably.
I could have more of a realistic image that I could look at. And I painted it for several hours, and I was finished. It was the most fantastic painting I'd ever done.
During one of our seances, I was apparently...
Oh, Flatliners is good. Maybe Flatliners. I'd have to rewatch it. It's been a few years since I've seen Flatliners. I've seen Falling Down more recently.
knocked out.
I have a lot of recency bias with the movies that I like. Don't get me wrong, I have my favorites that are always my favorites, but I'm really bad at recency bias. I'll be like, oh, I saw this movie in the last 6 months. It's one of my favorites. And it's just... It might be, but also I've seen it recently, so...
And my body apparently was covered with hives and bite marks. And one of the girls went to get her mother. And they said to me, Sue, we honestly believe that what you're doing is not of God, but it's of the devil. And I looked at him and I said, you're crazy. I go to church every Sunday. I am a very religious person, and these gifts are something of God. They are not of the devil. I wouldn't have this kind of power if it wasn't from God. And in fact, I always wear a cross when I do my seances. In fact, I even bring a few extra to pass out to the girls.
That reminds me a little bit, actually, of the TikTok witch turned fundamentalist that we've watched a little bit recently on Tinfoil Tuesdays. Again, same patterns reasserting themselves over the decades.
It was through the medium that I was led to stay with her family in South America, in Brazil. It was at that time that I became aware that they were practicing some form of a ceremony that I had not seen before, which didn't take me long to realize that it was witchcraft. I started to understand that the power that they were after, I already possessed. It was then that I became aware that maybe this power was evil and not good, or I wasn't superior. And it was after that that I became fearful of even going to sleep at night. Just being afraid to relax my consciousness that I might be taken over, as I had seen some of them.
A lot of the rhythms that are incorporated in the groups like AC/DC and Queen and many other rock groups that I can name come directly out of the Makumba ceremonies, which are demon worship ceremonies, and a lot of the African tribal ceremonies.
Weird racism, too?
These guys know exactly what they're doing. They're putting them in there on purpose. They play on the nervous system, and they definitely have an...
To be clear, this guy just said they're evil because they have African beats meant to summon African demons. Wow, this was the 80s. They really should have been past this at this point. This just basically feels like they're not allowed to say anymore that they don't like, quote, black music, so they're just like, African demons. Terrible.
Effect when taken in large doses. What you have to realize is these groups are promoting the kids to go right through occultic ceremonies live. The group Led Zeppelin openly admit in Circus Magazine interviews that they own occult shops all the way through the Birmingham area. They admit that they practice black magic on stage and backstage before concerts. As a matter of fact, guitarist Jimmy Page...
And now you're talking about them. Kind of sounds like the promotion worked, didn't it? God, these people doing the promotion for these people. Such a sick little circle. They're promoting each other, basically. What a shame.
Page, the lead guitarist of Led Zeppelin, now resides in the home of Crowley, the famous occultist. He says that he hears heads rolling at nighttime, and that constantly they're holding meetings with witches.
We had a seance at a slumber party for my 14th birthday.
You're 14?
And during the seance, the girl...
She's talking about this stuff with so much reverence as if it's serious, and it's all shit she did at, like, slumber parties in her, like, early teens.
Girls and I were all in a horseshoe shape around the fireplace. I was standing, and when the seance started, the woman that we were bringing back, who was another friend of mine who had died of leukemia, walked out of the fireplace.
How many dead friends does this woman have? Jesus Christ!
And stood in front of me. As she was standing there, she was telling me about the afterlife and the powers that she had been given, the powers to make me popular, to have the power to actually manipulate people so that they would like me more, or that...
I don't know, if I'm a ghost and I'm dead, is my first priority coming back to make my old friend popular? You're gonna be popular. No.
I could get them to do my wills and my whims. And she said, all you've got to do is give your life to me. And she held her hand out to me this whole time, and as she was talking, she just kept saying, come on, put your hand in my hand, and I'll guide you, I'll lead you. That's all you've got to do. And eventually I reached out, and I put my hand in her hand. And the hand came up over me and grabbed my wrist, and it turned into the most ugly, cruel claw I've ever seen. And I looked up, and I feel I was looking at the face of Satan.
Again, like that picture, too. It's so good!
One night, in the stillness of the night, angels began to manifest themselves to me. These angelic voices, chimes, beautiful...
Reminder that a very common hallucination for people who have hallucinations is that they're hearing angels talking to them, or they'll hear voices that they believe are external talking to them that are actually coming from inside their head, and then they will interpret those voices, at least in the United States often, to be angels.
Beautiful music. And then, early that morning, after being kept awake all night by these voices, there was a dead silence.
Just a Peach with a tip says, the late 80s, early 90s, I remember people saying rock was bad because, quote, black music. The only upside was, what? The only upside was the cracked-brained 70-plus years. I don't understand that.
And all of a sudden...
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
And they were gone. Where had they gone?
I don't know if I'm just misreading it or what.
Where had the presences gone that I'd felt in the room? And then I heard this horrible, this hideous, this awful laughter. We've tricked you. We're the devil, and we're going to kill you. And with that, these forces began to lunge upon my body, began to attack my body. It felt like knives were going through my chest and through my back, and heavy forces grabbing my neck. Forces coming against my eyes. The worst part of all.
That's a good.
Back. Forces coming against my eyes. The worst part of all was, who would I tell this to? Who's
They were.
gonna believe this? Because I didn't even know anybody that even
There
believed in the devil.
were
I didn't believe in the devil.
crack
After me, my father
brain
came by, and
70+
after I
year
told him
olds.
what I was going through, he said, honey, you need a psychiatrist. And I said, Daddy, it's not like that.
It is like that. Please get a psychiatrist. Your dad was so right.
Something's got a hold of me and it won't let me go. It's trying to kill me. Well, later that night, my husband almost rushed me to the hospital several times as the forces began to press upon my chest and try to stop my
Not
breathing.
the forces.
I was like their puppet, that they were manipulating my heart.
Stephen J. Neptune Man with 40 bits says that one guy in this video looks like alternate universe Hulk Hogan, where he never took steroids and got a regular job as a mechanic or truck driver.
My whole nervous system, my lungs, trying to blind my eyes, screaming over and over again, forever and ever this torment will last.
At first, when I was with Satan, I was controlling it. As I got more and more involved with Satan, he began to control me, and he began to dictate to me what to do, what not to do. And I was losing control of me to the point where I finally decided to commit suicide. One time, specifically, I tried driving under the bridge in Buckman, not too far from my home, and I felt a physical force pulling me towards it, and my desire was to die. At the last second, I felt a physical force pulling me away from it, and I damned God, and I hated God, and I cursed him all the way up over the ramp and all the way back into town.
If you recall, the great number of untimely deaths in the rock and roll world, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Keith Moon, John Bonham, Marley of the reggae world, all of these people suffocated in their vomit because of a drug overdose.
Yeah, that's not demons. That's addiction. That's addiction.
A good friend of mine in the rock and roll world that got out of it because of his desire to get away from witchcraft literally told me, don't believe, Mike, these untimely deaths. Don't believe they were just accidents. A lot of these guys make literal pacts with the devil for fame and for power.
A guy who was a former drug addict, actually at the time not even former, he just was leaving the business. A drug addict telling you a bunch of people sold their soul to the devil is not a primary source. I don't know how else to tell you that.
And there is a price to be paid. And the devil comes and collects.
Certainly not a primary source that's reliable in terms of what it is telling you.
One night I told my husband, I don't care if they lock me up. There's no help, there's no hope there, but at least the kids wouldn't see me anymore. I went to a local hospital. There the doctors saw me just cowering like this at the forces. After my husband told him what I was saying was wrong with me, he said that he had seen other people this had happened to who had gotten into Eastern meditation, that I really needed to see a psychiatrist.
I was suffering from such deep depression from the time I saw that face on that I got to the point in my life where I was so alienated I did not care. And so I decided that there was only one choice in my life, and that was to end it. I didn't have anything driving me other than the fact that there was no purpose to life. There was no meaning. There was no
Was it her father or husband? Yes.
satisfying me. I had all these powers, and I was still hungry. So I resolved that I would go to church that Sunday and purify myself. And after I was pure, I would step out in front of the oncoming traffic in front of our church and have a car take my life.
Just right in front of the church. It's dramatic. Don't do that, though. Don't do that.
But in the meantime, my mother and my older sister had become Christians, and my mother forced me
Feels
to
like something out of a Todd Solondz film.
go on a Christian march with my older sister the Saturday before. And while I was on that march, I saw in these people a happiness in their life and a joy that just couldn't be faked by that many people. And I knew that they had something that I wanted, and I needed for my own life, because there was nothing there. And at the end of this march, when they told me that that something was the person of Jesus Christ, and all I had to do was invite him into my heart, I was the first one up there to ask him into my heart, because I knew in my spirit that that was the answer, not
So she traded one set of crazy, supernatural, untrue beliefs for a different one that was more socially acceptable. We did it, everyone! We accomplished nothing!
suicide, not drugs, but Jesus Christ.
One night it was so bad, I remember somebody saying, "You need a priest, you need an exorcism." I sought out a priest because I was in a private Catholic hospital, but a nun came instead. She asked me what was the matter, and I told her. She asked me if my psychiatrist believed in the powers of the occult, and I said, "Oh, no." She said, "Well, I believe you, and Jesus Christ can set you free. Satan's a liar." After the prayers of the nun that night, several days later, I was moved from the suicidal section that I was on to a more free unit. There, I was introduced to a pastor. He opened up scripture and began to show me how Jesus Christ, when he had walked the face of the earth, had cast demons out of people, and that he was still
They
alive.
had a suicidal section? That's interesting.
Today in the power of the Holy Spirit, and that he could free me. I didn't understand yet who he was talking about or who the Jesus was that he knew personally.
Some white guy, I guess, based on these pictures.
Then several days later, such a change came over me. I was sleeping through the night. People on the unit were seeing the change that had taken place in me, and the doctor was saying to the nurses that I'd soon be released.
Even after I became a Christian, I still had a fascination and an attraction to the sensual aspect of the occult. And for 3 to 4 years, I was still being constantly harassed by Satan.
I sat down with a lot of young people between the ages of 15 and 18 that are starting hard rock groups, you know, the garage bands. And I just subtly brought up the fact, I said, "Are you aware that there's a lot of black magic involved in the hard rock world?" And they said, "Oh, yeah."
Excellent!
Yeah, and we're starting to get into it too. As a matter of fact, we just bought some books, and we're going to start trying to do some black magic in our acts. And you can see the influence is spilling over to the young people. They're imitating the people that they idolize.
When I was able to totally release it and not have that desire and that appeal in my own spirit longing after it, at that point I could really have Christ alive in me and experience him to his fullest in order for my spiritual hunger to be satisfied.
You know, nobody wants their carpet ripped out from underneath them and with no replacement. You can't do that. There are a lot of groups that are exciting, that are high-powered, and this is what the kids are looking for. They're looking for something that's exciting, where they can have a good time. I enjoy that too, and I think knowing these things.
He enjoys the checks the Christians give him to say this stuff better, though.
Studying these things out and having an awareness of it is going to help them to pick and choose the good from the bad.
My deliverance really was a gradual deliverance, but once I asked Jesus into my heart, no longer was I afraid. And I began to look at scripture, and it was as if God was now speaking to me.
Well, a lot of musicians are just nerds. I'd say most.
Directly through.
I say that as a good thing, by the way. I don't use nerd pejoratively. In my experience, musicians are big dorks in the best way.
Scriptures that were dead and dry to me before. God began to show me what Jesus had said, that the Holy Spirit was the one that would show me the truth. That Jesus was the truth, that he was the way, that he was the life, and he was the only way to the Father.
Even though I had been brought up to believe in God and
Is that Kristen Wiig? Looks more like Kristen Merkin.
Jesus Christ, I had never known him as my personal Savior and Lord. The biggest hold Satan still had over me was fear. Well, as I turned that over to Jesus Christ one day, miraculously I was delivered totally of fear. And my relationship with Jesus Christ became the most important thing in my life.
Jesus conquered Satan, not with psychic power, but by dying for our sins and paying a debt that we could never pay. The real Christian, walking with the Lord, has nothing to fear from Satan or occultism.
Just God.
In fact, we have been given authority to cast out demons in the name of Jesus Christ.
The reason I have the peace now that I've always wanted in my life is because at the very moment that Satan was bringing to me his last pull to him through a commitment that he was going to make me make, Christ came in and shattered the whole thing. When it was like being in a black room and a light turning on and the presence of God was there, and I turned to him. And I was released that night from the complete power of Satan to the total walk in who Jesus Christ is. I have a life that is in Christ, that is peace, that is joy. That's all I ever wanted.
lost within the night.
It's a song!
Confused of wrong and right. All at once my darkened world was shattered by your light. And through your loving sight.
Kinda wish we'd heard more of the song, to be honest with ya.
The game of Dungeons and Dragons has been around since the early 70s, is played by an estimated 5 million people. It is also the...
Wow, if that's actually true for 1985, that's a lot of people. That's gotta be an overestimate, right? There's no way 5 million people were playing D&D in 1985. That seems like a crazy number.
Target of a group of concerned parents in the United States who call themselves BAD, B-A-D-D.
Like, if you told me right now there's like 10 million, I'd be like, that's insane. 5 million in 1985?
Bothered about Dungeons and Dragons. The reason they are bothered is because they believe the game has been involved
Maybe I just have no sense of scale, I don't know.
in a number of murders and suicides across the United States and now in Canada. At the trial of a 14-year-old boy who admitted to
Oh, it could be number of books sold, and they just based it on that.
strangling a young Orangeville, Ontario girl and her brother, it was revealed the accused had been playing the game for 18 months, had in fact been a dungeon master of his own group for 5 months.
Dungeon Master and Dwarven Sword Master, Hobgoblins, Dwarves, Elves, and Halflings are some of the characters and terms used in this very complicated and controversial game.
Not that, I guess, you know what? I was gonna say it's not that complicated. I've only ever played 5e. I've not played AD&D or 2nd edition or 3 or 3.5, 4, I don't know. Maybe they're super hard.
Talk about the
I know they have different, like, floating variables that make things more complicated that 5e doesn't have.
controversy in a moment. But first, this report by Carol Jerome, who went to one of the games of a Toronto Dungeons and Dragons club.
It's a fantasy role-playing game, and it's a refined...
See what I mean about the art, though? The art in the 80s was so good. That's not to say I don't like D&D art today. I do. It's just the 80s stuff has a very particular look. It's got, like, a warmth to it. I don't know. Feels cool.
The pretend games we all play as kids.
I feel that way about a lot of 80s movies, though, too. There's a specific, like, feeling. It might just be nostalgia, because even though I was born in the 90s, I was exposed to a lot of 80s stuff throughout my life, so I don't know.
The books
maybe more atmospheric, yeah, maybe.
Tell how to play, describing all the kinds of characters the player can be, and the monsters that will be met on each imaginary adventure. Some players, like these boys, like to make up their own fantasy voyages. There's no board or pieces. It's all in the imagination.
And you find 6 skeletons on the ground. What do you do?
Daniel Green is the dungeon master who guides the play.
Can I do something?
Yeah, hold it.
I've ring of 2 wishes, and I'm gonna wish that the door opens.
You used a wish on a fucking door? I'm gonna assume that the wish spell, or like a genie, was very different back in the day mechanically. Because I don't care if that kid's 7 years old. If you use a wish spell on a door, you need to get out of my house.
For example, Oli plays the role of a cavalier named Fallinger Bandrask. Mike is a fighter, and Erwin is a paladin.
Okay, we're gonna go the other way. You're gonna go the other way?
Okay, let's try the other corridor.
Well, okay.
The dungeon master takes them through a strange castle this time, and they must respond to each situation he describes according to their characters, all of whom have prescribed qualities of strength and wisdom, certain powers and magic. When they encounter dragons and other evils, the battle is decided.
This is a game where you need a dice roll to successfully poop behind a tree. Roll me a d20! The first response will be the answer to do you successfully poop behind a tree. Roll!
By an intricate scoring system and by these special dice.
Still, Milan, you missed. You see what looks to be a beautiful way to escape. You can just go straight down this.
Sweet Lily Love. See, that's unfortunate, Sweet Lily Love. That's a critical fail. That means that while successfully you are behind the tree, you actually... This is disgusting. Why would I do this bit? You're successfully obscured behind the tree, but onlookers see just a strange shoot of diarrhea coming from behind a tree. There you go. We did it.
Corridor.
I don't think we have a roll command on this channel.
And go outside.
Oh, there is. Okay, never mind.
Walk out.
You're gonna walk out. A black exit out of the game. You have just died, went into another multi-universe, no longer existing. Your character is permanently, forever destroyed.
You don't owe me, just I expect the same in return. I got to save my life sometimes.
You just got wiped out.
Okay.
It is not only the violence in the fantasies, but the quasi-religious character of the game, with mystic figures.
The quasi-religious character. It's fantasy.
Who use
Unstable Deadbeat with 100 bits says, my die fell on the floor and rolled under the couch and I can't reach it. What does that mean? Means you don't get to poop behind the tree. Sorry.
Holy water and magic spells, all woven in our...
You gotta hold it, and then you poop your pants.
Language.
Sorry, it's D&D. You poop your pantaloons.
Like a...
Your pantaloons of +1 soiling.
Secret society that gives this game a special quality that captivates players and worries some others. But the boys say it's just a game for them, an exciting voyage of imagination.
Not quite. What's your strength?
The manufacturer makes some interesting notes on this. It warns the players not to get themselves confused with their character roles. And it says that the point of this game is not winning and it's not killing. It's having the adventure. Each player wins by having fun, says the manual. So if you can have a good time, you win. You can have fun even if your character gets killed. And if that happens, don't worry. You can always make up another one. For Midday, I'm Carol Jerome in Toronto.
Well, that wasn't bad, actually. A lot of the 80s D&D stuff got really hard on them. That one was actually pretty good. Okay, let's see what is next. Did we do the Elder Scrolls' Satanic one already? I think we did, but I wanted to double check. We did this, right? At some point? I just wanted to double check before I skipped it, because I think we covered it at some point in the past.
The Elder places a great emphasis on the idea of dualism and equality of opposites.
You've never seen it? Yeah, but I think we covered it, so I just want to double check. I don't know if I watched it in my own time or if I watched it with you guys.
Foundation upon which the majority of esoteric teachings are based. One example of this would be the Daedric Prince, more like Princess, Azura, the Hero's Guide.
No, not a princess. There's no such thing as a Daedric princess. The Daedric princes in the Elder Scrolls cosmology have no sex, and even the concept of gender is kind of amorphous for many of them. They're not humanoid. They don't have a sex, and again, not really a gender. So they're all just called Daedric princes. Even if their avatar appears to be feminine, they're still called Daedric princes.
Throughout Morrowind, Azura is often seen holding a moon and star.
Yeah, Azura is one that is a zealot against the undead, right? Yeah? Marco Cat says. By Azura, by Azura, by Azura.
Symbolizes that she maintains.
Also, if you don't corrupt it into the Black Star, what are you doing?
Draws power from the balance of night and day, light and dark.
Oh yeah, you're thinking of Merida. Because Merida's beacon, right? Because Merida's got the Dawnbringer sword, and that does extra damage to undead.
One glare.
Dillis Filler with 120 bits says, be the post-gender Daedric prince you wish to see in the world. True.
Dualistic portrayal is Vivek, a half Chimera, a yellow-skinned elven race, and half Donner, a dark-skinned and red-eyed race of elves, also known as Dark Elves. Hermaphrodite elf, who possess godlike powers, and I mean literally half Chimera and half Donner. Half of his body is yellow and half is grey, split right down the middle. You can see from photos of him that he is quite the dualistic specimen. He can be found during the main questline of the Elder Scrolls 3, Morrowind.
I've still not played Morrowind. I think I'll wait for the remaster. The Oblivion one did well enough, right? They'll probably do a Morrowind remaster at some point. Probably. Make it playable for me.
In his palace, located within Vivek City, Lord Vivek was one of the 3 immortal god kings of Morrowind, alongside Sothasil and Almalexia. Yes, a threetheism of gods, though not a trinity. Vivek is often described as being both beautiful and bloody, and having an artistic violence due to his dual nature, which has been said to give Vivek a bipolar personality. Vivek is worshipped by the Donner as a symbol of mastery, as well as duality, given his Khmer donor complexion, hermaphroditic appearance, and sinister nature hidden behind his benevolence. Actually, he not only has hermaphroditic appearance, but was actually born one.
Why? Why?
Vivek grew up in the city of Mournhold in Resdain, now present
Not the preferred nomenclature, dude.
day Morrowind, sometime during the Nordic occupation of the province in the early First Era. He was a hermaphrodite born to a Nechi man, but was orphaned at an unspecified age. He was even married to one of the Daedric princes and gave birth to their children. Another interesting characteristic of Vivek is that he lives in an essential pyramid, hovering in a meditational-like posture above a triangle for the eternity of the game of Morrowind. He is quite suspect, I think. He is eerily reminiscent of the dualistic as well as hermaphroditic Baphomet, who also sits in a similar meditational position. Another prime example would be Segoroth, the infamous prince of...
Oh, that's a weird... I don't know if I've ever heard it pronounced that way. Sheargorath, and I've also heard, Shegoroth, which I think they pronounced it in some of the earlier games. I've heard people do it that way.
Madness. His motives are unknowable. And Jiggalak, the prince of logical order and deduction, upholds strict order above all else. In the Oblivion DLC titled Shivering Isles, which takes place in the realm of Segoroth, the player learns that the two persons, Segoroth and Jiggalak,
Spoilers! Spoilers for a really good DLC! Spoilers! Spoilers!
are actually one and the same. Shivering Isles reveals that Jiggalak is in fact Segoroth himself, making Segoroth the one Daedric prince of both chaos and order, madness and logic.
Just Peach with a $1 tip says Boris Vallejo was the artist who started the style for D&D. He did movie posters for Barbarian Queen and National Lampoon and many others. Oh, nice. Very talented guy, I guess.
Additional content of the Shivering Isles DLC comes with a plethora of dualistic portrayals, including the entire island upon which the events take place is split in half between a dark and gloomy, swamped area and a brighter and more
Dementia.
cheery wooded area.
Mania.
A city titled New Seoth, split right down
Sheoth.
the middle, where the residents in the crummy, lower and darker side of town, titled Crucible, are always grumpy, and the ones in the lofty
Dillis Filler says, so Ziggurat, the dandy prince, got it.
side of town, titled Bliss, are better-tempered. Even the majority of
Dawnfang and Duskfang are my go-to sword, by the way. That's like, whenever I have a sword-based character in Oblivion, Dawnfang, Duskfang is my end-game weapon. Love that thing.
enemies found in the environment have a dualistic clone found on the opposite side of the island, which are color-coded according to the half of the island they are found on. Then you have the cosmology and creation story of Elder Scrolls, which sounds similar to other games we have come across. Anu, also known as Anu the Everything, was a primordial deity associated with the creation of Aurbis. Aurbis is the universe the Elder Scrolls game takes place in. Anu is the name of an actual pagan deity of the ancient Middle East. In Sumerian mythology, Anu was a sky god, the god of heaven, lord of constellations, king of gods, spirits and demons, and dwelt in the highest heavenly regions. It was believed that he had the power to judge those who had committed crimes, and that he had created the stars as soldiers to destroy the wicked. Sounds an awful lot like the biblical god, Yahweh. According to the book Sithis, an in-game book, Anu isn't a deity of any kind, but is rather a static force without consciousness.
The problem with using any in-game text from a Bethesda game... How do I put this? Presumably there's some sort of, like, actual lore Bible that Bethesda has, but the way that all of the stuff is written in-game is intentionally biased. So when you're reading a book, a lore book, in any of the Elder Scrolls games, you can't assume that everything it's telling you is what's literally true about the lore of that universe. It's colored by the perspective of the person who is supposed to have written it, whether they're a researcher or whether they're from a certain province, whether they're pro or anti-empire. It's going to color the way that that fictional author writes about those experiences. So basically everything that you read in the Elder Scrolls is from an unreliable narrator. Now that's not to say that nothing is ever accurate. It's just to say part of the game, if you're into the lore, is reading and cross-referencing what different authors say about a given topic and sort of coming to your own understanding of what the real events were by sort of working backwards from the motivations of the people writing stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's one of the things I like about the games. Like, Bethesda's got tons of problems, but, like, those games are classic for a reason, and the world building is really good in that regard.
Personality, intent or will, being immutable static light. Something cannot be created without changing the creator. And
what's the point of this video? It's supposed to be that Elder Scrolls is occultic and demonic, and it's hiding these things in plain sight. He hasn't really gotten to that yet, though.
Anu is static.
Basically, Elder Scrolls is secretly evil and teaching you occultic shit.
Not change. It is Sithis, according to this book, that created all things. This seems to be another underhanded attack on the biblical god of creation, portrayed here as Anu. The developers seem to be appealing rather to Satan, here portrayed as Sithis as the creator of all things.
Sithis is not Satan. Sithis is not Satan.
Believe me now.
There is no Satan. The closest you could even get, I guess, aesthetically, would be like Mehrunes Dagon, because he literally looks like a big devil guy. But, like, he's not Satan. He's the Daedric prince of, like, change and revolutions, which isn't inherently evil, although he is the antagonist of Elder Scrolls Oblivion.
It's death worship. Just check this Sithis character out. He has heavy association with death, given that he is the deity of the Dark Brotherhood, assassins, and the Dark Brotherhood is said to be the harbingers of death. The worship of Sithis.
Alright, I will move on to another video, though, just because I want to get a little more explicitly Satanism with it. So, let's see. Did we do this one? We may have started this at some point, but it wasn't... I don't believe it was censored in the way I wanted, but I found a censored version, so let's try this out.
Teenagers across America are playing with a new and frightening game, Satanism. Their school books are marked up with satanic symbols, upside-down crosses, pentagrams, the number 666. Their fashions glamorize the demonic. They are seduced by heavy metal
not Ozzy
heroes, many of whom feature satanic imagery in their songs and album covers. For some of these young people...
I really wish I could go back in time and tell people like this that Ozzy Osbourne became so accepted as a public figure that the day he died, it was the biggest news story for like 3 days, and basically everyone had nice things to say about him. I don't know, I just think it would piss him off. I think that's funny.
The fixation...
Do I have the series Ghost Story, aka Circle of Fear? I don't think so.
...on violence, evil, and death leads them to commit...
Oh no! Did you see that?
These young people, the fixation on violence...
Religion is evil. That's supposed to be a satanic thing. They're showing this as if it's an ominous satanic thing.
and death.
Satanism is a religion, fun fact. But I think you don't like this not because it's satanic, but because it criticizes you. Okay.
Leads them to commit abominable crimes, including suicide and human sacrifice. Joseph Beeson, 18, and Edward Bennett, 19, both raised in Mormon homes, drew blood from their own veins and mutilated animals in satanic rituals.
Yeah, see, I found a censored version of this.
So they eventually
it wasn't
killed
censored
18-year-old Michelle Moore. Sean Sellers, 17, the youngest death row inmate in Oklahoma.
We've seen that guy interviewed in other satanic panic videos. This was a thing in like the 80s and 90s, weird evangelicals getting serial killers on camera to profess their Christianity and warn about the secular world. Basically, it was a quid pro quo where the pastors or religious leaders would get to use these serial killers as a prop to promote their churches, and the serial killer gets to look like they've learned their lesson and are now a good Christian boy in jail. in the hopes that the governor will commute their sentence, or rather, at least make it so they no longer get killed, because this was when the death sentence was used much more often. I don't think it should be used at all, but it was used all the time back then, and certainly for serial killers, so these guys were all on death row. So it was this weird, cynical agreement where they'd pretend to be super Christian to help the Christians, and the Christians would pretend to believe them that they had actually found Jesus and were remorseful for their crimes. Real sick stuff. Dillis Filler says, show them news clips with the crawler left in so they can see the clown presidency and panic about that too.
Brutally murdered his mother and stepfather because they tried to prevent his satanic rituals. Scott Waterhouse, 17, tortured and killed a 12-year-old girl in a grisly satanic slaughter. Pete Rowland, 17, formed a satanic cult with 3 other boys. After sacrificing a...
Does 3 people count as a cult with 1 leader? It's more just like a gang.
They turned on Steve Newberry, the 4th member of their group, and beat him to death with baseball bats while chanting, "A sacrifice for Satan." Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, was convicted of 13 murders and 30 other felonies. During the summer of 1985, he beat, strangled, raped, sodomized, shot, and slashed his victims in a rampage of sadistic satanic slayings.
Those are some verbs.
In the spring of '89, the dead bodies of 13 victims, one of whom was only 16 years old, were found mutilated and buried in a common grave near the American-Mexican border in Matamoros. This satanic drug-smuggling cult believed...
Oh, drug smuggling is satanic now? Wow, we're just using... Words mean nothing except for rhetoric, right? As it turns out, rhetoric is not just the seasoning, it's everything. There's nothing but rhetoric, everything else is a lie. It's such horseshit. Lance with 100 bits says, hot take, Andy Capp's ranch fries are better than Cool Ranch Doritos. Hot take, ranch is disgusting and I don't want it near my food. I don't understand the obsession with ranch. I think it's nasty. Me no likey.
That sacrificing humans in bizarre rituals would give them magical protection. The victims had been dealt blows with a hammer, and some suffered horrible mutilations, including the removal of brains, hearts, and other organs that were then boiled in blood. For those of us who have been involved in cult and occult research over the years, these atrocious reports are unfortunately nothing new. They are only the tip of the iceberg. Because Satanism is by nature clandestine, it's hard to estimate the numbers of people involved.
We're gonna decide that it's hidden, because then we can explain why there's no evidence of this, or so little evidence that it's comical that we're claiming that it's a big issue.
Not all satanic groups are involved in criminal behavior, but with increasing frequency, law enforcement agencies across North America and Western Europe are receiving similar reports of illegal activity.
Wow, they're receiving similar reports from this historic mass hysteria. I'm shocked.
Satanically inspired child pornography and ritual abuse.
You see what I mean? They're just like throwing buzzwords together. Satanic and child porn. Of course, the modern term would be child sexual abuse material. But like, they're just trying to associate like the worst possible shit with this idea of Satanism and going, Satanism is real! These actual evil things are all caused by this fictional evil thing we're gonna rally at you about. It's so, like, blatant what they're doing, and it is so cynical, and this kind of rhetoric is still used constantly, especially on the right. I'm so frustrated. Tea Time Tea, thank you for gifting 5 Tier 1 subs. Thank you very much.
Animal mutilations, human sacrificial murder, cannibalism, rape, sodomy, desecration of graves and Christian churches are just some of the findings. Victims are from all walks of life. Their stories are grotesque and beyond human belief. The purpose of this video is not to over-sensationalize a hideous subject, but rather to inform you of a very real problem that is sweeping across our nation. What used to be hidden or secret is now arrogantly brandished in public by Satanists who recruit openly and display macabre graffiti and gruesome
There was a spooky skull!
Satanists who recruit openly and
oh my god, they drew a spooky skull! I like that they're focused on the skull and not the obvious KKK thing right here, which is obviously much worse. Like the skull, whatever, it's aesthetic. This is a problem. The skull, isn't this... Okay, you know what? This is America. Okay, this is America. Guns in my... No, okay. Literally, guy going, spooky, look at the spooky, scary Satanist skull image. I'm scared of the aesthetic. Meanwhile, ignoring the white supremacy that's the actual danger off to the side. We did it. We found America.
display macabre graffiti and gruesome mutilations in public places.
Those two things are not equivalent, by the way. Macabre graffiti and mutilating animals? Not even in the same category. Not even a little close.
In this video, we wish to educate you and your family on how to protect yourselves from the effects of Satanism.
I protect myself from the effects of Satanism by not getting myself whipped up into an insane hysteria by a bunch of right-wing dipshits. I get whipped into hysterias made up by left-wing dipshits. How dare you?
Today, a growing number of people don't believe in the existence of a personal God or devil. However, many believe in a force or universal power which can be tapped into at will and manipulated.
They always love the footage of the guys and gals in the woods doing their thing.
Used for good or evil, they believe, by performing various techniques and rituals. Among subscribers of this occult philosophy are white witches, black witches, and Satanists.
Dillis Filler says, very community, you can excuse racism energy? Very much so.
And black witches worship Satan. Alongside of that, you have people calling themselves white witches or Wiccans, who claim that they have magic powers, but they only use them to do good.
There's a lot of confusion between Satanism...
Oh, he looks like a Nigel, doesn't he?
...and witchcraft. The two terms are usually lumped together as one. Satanism, as it stands, is basically a reversion and perversion of Christian symbolism, whereas witchcraft, or Wicca as we prefer to call it, is a totally separate, autonomous organisation that has its own form of worship, which is not related to Christianity in any way at all.
Just chasing after each other in their fucking furry masks.
When I first
good for them
got into Wicca, it looked really good. It seemed to be white and innocent and just going out and like
his name is Nigel Bond and he works for MI6.
Gathering herbs and worshiping nature. But as I got into the higher degrees, I learned that the name of the horned god was Lucifer, and I learned that for instance, the sign of second degree was an inverted pentagram, which is of course the symbol of black magic, the five-pointed star turned with the 2 points up, symbolizing the horns of Satan. And it began to dawn on me that there were things here that weren't quite as they should be.
According to my Bible, witchcraft is witchcraft. God does not distinguish between black or white or grey.
Unless you're Solomon, then you can summon demons to do your dirty work, and that's fine.
Witchcraft allows you or teaches you to depend on supernatural powers and spirits to get things that you want on this earth.
Ominous sword.
Depend on
little
supernatural
tiny
powers
kiss.
And spirits to get...
Look at the evil of this kiss. Don't you just shake in fear of these evil, evil people?
Things that you...
Tiny smooch.
...want on this earth. So I believe that despite all the good that...
Oh, I hope no one has mono.
...and think they do, their power source is exactly the same as that of Satanism.
Many officials have been reluctant to admit the horrendous ramifications of satanic
They've been reluctant to admit the crazy bullshit we're trying to peddle. Those bastards.
activity in America and Europe. But despite opposition, some people have come forward and spoken against the upward swing of Satanism as a serious epidemic that must be considered. David Wilshire is one such person. As a British Member of Parliament, he actively alerts his fellow countrymen to the growing dangers of Satanism.
Once you open up the mind to the sorts of ideas and imagery and history of witchcraft, where is the dividing line between something which is a bit of a giggle and something which slips very readily into full-blown Satanism, if that's the right phrase for it, where
Satanism isn't illegal. Again, I don't believe in Satan. Most Satanists don't believe in Satan. It's none of your business if people are like Satanists or whatever their religion is. You don't have to agree with it. I don't agree with people's religions, but they have them, and you live with it. That's life. Welcome to it. Ugh.
there are no bounds to how nastily and foully you treat other people for your own gratification.
Englishman Aleister Crowley, a leading inspiration.
Reminder that during this time, the Catholic Church and churches all over the world were like abusing, and still to this day, I'm sure, are still abusing children. And it just gets swept under the rug, or just making up shit to get mad about, like, Satanists for something that's like 0.000000001% of the population at most. Absolutely nutty.
In today's revival of Satanism was a bisexual heroin addict and demonologist who was
based department?
Violently
maybe not the heroin addiction part.
Opposed to Christianity. In his book Magic, he detailed the proper procedure for performing a child sacrifice. Crowley's powerful influence is seen in such groups as the OTO, Ordo Templi Orientis, and Colonel Michael Aquino's Temple of Set, an offshoot from the Church of Satan.
I want to point out, apparently aura farming is incredibly effective. Like, I think Anton LaVey and Crowley and stuff are kind of cringe, to be honest with you. Like, at the best of times, I find them cringe. But you can't say that they didn't succeed in doing what they were intending to do, which is to put themselves indelibly into the public consciousness as this character they were portraying themselves as. They succeeded wholeheartedly in that, for better and for worse.
In 1866, Anton LaVey founded the first Church of Satan in San Francisco, which at one point claimed 10,000 members. LaVey authored the Satanic Bible and Satanic Rituals, two of Satanism's most important books. Astonishingly, when the Satanic Bible was first published, it outsold the Holy Bible 2-to-1 in many parts of America and 10-to-1 on some college campuses. It teaches tenets that are totally opposed to goodness, purity, and selfless behavior.
Like murdering your son when God tells you. That's the right thing to do.
All religions are coming around to Satanism. We're in the very throes of a new satanic age. The evidence is all around us. All we have to do is look at it.
Shemham Parash. Shemham Parash. Hail Satan. Hail Satan.
To the Satanist, good is evil and evil is good. The truth is a lie and a lie is a truth. Sweet is bitter and bitter is sweet. And everything is twisted around the other way.
The Satanists have merely followed the pantheist way of thought to its logical conclusion. If there are no absolutes, if God doesn't exist, he hasn't set absolute limits to what we can do. So therefore, anything that the self decides it wants, the self can go after.
We believe in greed, we believe in selfishness, we believe in all of the lustful thoughts that motivate man because this is man's natural feeling.
And therefore, Satan.
LaVey's book might have had some good sales out of novelty. Ironically, it's stuff like this that helped him. Like, you gotta understand that at the time that he published that, America was undergoing its, like, countercultural, like, revolution era. So, like, stuff like the Satanic Bible, stuff like commercial pornography, stuff that would have been considered literally illegal just like a decade prior was because of the absence and striking down of obscenity laws and stuff like that becoming legal. So there was this period, this was also called the Golden Age of Pornography for a specific reason. It was the first time in America stuff like this was available and wasn't illegal. So there was sort of this like taboo quality, but not illegal, but still taboo, that got a lot of people to engage with this material, whether it's the Satanic Bible or like Deep Throat or Beyond the Green Door. There was this era in sort of the 60s and 70s where this underbelly of like stuff that had been suppressed by society for decades and decades bubbled to the surface briefly, scared the shit out of conservatives, and they've basically been enacting their PTSD-driven revenge ever since. It's really weird.
Take that to its...
Oh, and all these news reports and stuff helped. Like, all these people reporting on Anton LaVey and his Satanic Bible helped its sales because it was controversial.
Extreme and say, if I want to be violent, I can be violent. If I want to hurt others to gain my way, then I can hurt others to gain my way.
There are generally 4 different groups of Satanists. We would like to classify them as the dabbler. Then you have your religious Satanist, then you have your non-traditional Satanist, and then your generational Satanist. The dabbler we would classify as the teenager. The teenager would simply learn some things from his friends at school, dabble a little bit in the Ouija board, go down the library or the local bookstore and pick up a book, and kind of do his own thing. Not real dangerous, but he can be moved into further areas which could be criminal or dangerous in nature.
The dabblers are the people who are putting the graffiti up on walls, knocking over tombstones, and making a general nuisance of themselves.
So teenagers. So they're teenagers. You mean teenagers.
Public. They are the...
So people who dabble in Satanism are just nuisance teenagers. Cool.
Ones also who will do the animal sacrifices, and they're really novices. They're considered lower level Satanists by those who are higher up into the satanic realm. The religious Satanists are protected by law. Anton LaVey's First Church of Satan in San Francisco would be an example of that. They are religious in their approach, and they try not to violate any man-made laws because it is not productive for their own self-interest.
Also, have you considered they don't actually want to murder people or do sacrifice? They're basically cosplaying and role-playing and fucking each other after the ritual, you weirdo.
Now, the non-traditional Satanist is a gentleman or...
Like, I'm not gonna lie, I don't get it either. I don't get the whole Satanism thing, like, the people who are actually Satanists, not like the fictional made-up version that religious fundamentalists worry about. I don't get it, but I also don't care. People are allowed to go do their ritual bullshit. Humans love ritual. It's whatever.
Lady or the group of people who would take certain ideologies, develop a cult, usually polarized around some central theme, oftentimes taken from a biblical aspect.
I kind of wish there was more secular ritual, you know, because there is a catharsis in ritual. You know, it's a very human psychology thing. We really enjoy it. So I wish there was more secular ritual that one could engage in on a community basis.
And use that to commit crimes, or they may not commit any crimes, but for what we're talking about for these purposes, the non-traditional Satanist is oftentimes the most dangerous.
Now then there are generational Satanists. These are people who would have Satanism in their family, and it's passed down from generation to generation, just as the name would intimate, and these Satanists would produce all kinds of horrors secretly.
From infancy, they have learned all these things. They have been molested, forced to drink blood, eat feces, urinated upon, sodomized.
Do they have any idea how difficult it would be to actually eat feces? I've also seen the movie Solo. Not a thing humans can readily do without getting incredibly ill. It's so weird that these people, so afraid of, like, their perceived enemy, come up with, like, the grossest, weirdest shit that is literally impossible for the vast majority of human beings to even engage in.
And just from generation to generation,
like, do they understand if you even came close to trying to imbibe human excrement, you would be violently ill. Your body would not allow you to do it.
continues.
Many Satanists recall being fascinated with
disgusting.
occultism at a young age. Some had been ritually dedicated to Satan as children. One person who remembers being initiated by his grandfather is Glenn.
One year at a family reunion, he took all the cousins, all the little kids, and he lined us all up in a row. And he went down the line just one by one, putting his hand on our heads. And he came back and stopped at me, and he said, "This is the chosen one." After that, he took me aside into a barn where it was private. And he laid his hands on my head, and he said, "At the moment of my death, I pass over all my power and my ability to you."
I was...
Sir, your mentally ill pedophile uncle has nothing to do with this.
finally given the wonderful privilege of realizing that Satan was the god
That's Pan.
of witchcraft, and I was, at that time, made it very clear that if I really wanted to progress much further, I would have to sell my soul to the devil.
Another sweet 80s fantasy artwork, I'm telling you. It's just great. Oh, that's the same one from the other video. They're running out of images of Satan.
Is that Satan had a part
That's not Satan. That looks like one of the guards from Jabba's palace.
in creating the world with God. And he was wrongfully
That's better.
thrown out of heaven when he asked for equal power along with Jehovah God. And that one day he would regain his rightful place. So we have to make his...
I feel like they were very mean to that demon for drawing his dingaling to be so tiny. That is the meanest they could have been to that demon. Holy shit.
army bigger, so the more recruits there are in Satanism and the occult on the earth, the quicker his army would grow, and then he would take over and overthrow Christ and the Christian church.
Now, worshiping of Satan is not a crime in the United States of America. It's protected under the First Amendment.
Correct. So maybe shut up.
Therefore, if you see a group of people dancing around a fire, they're not committing any crime. There's nothing that the United States law enforcement can do.
It's not against...
Good? Good. What? Good. You're talking like that's a bad thing. Dilla Spiller says, plot twist, the demon is into it. Okay, fair enough. He can be into being ashamed of his penis. Or into humiliation kink surrounding the size of his penis.
It's the law to be a Satanist or to be a member of a witchcraft
Sorry.
group, or to be a doorknob worshiper. I don't really care what you form of religion is. I don't investigate the religion. It's the crime I investigate.
There are no statistics to prove anywhere in the United States of America or the world that this stuff is widespread.
Oh, okay, we can wrap this up then, right? That's the end of it? You just admitted that this is a waste of everyone's time?
But it's my opinion that it's more widespread than you can shake a stick at.
Oh, okay, well, your opinion's dog shit and you should be embarrassed.
Satanism in the United Kingdom is on the increase.
Where do you think he got that opinion from, fake Peter?
My poop comes out of my butthole.
Oh, okay, probably there. That makes sense.
It is, I believe, one of the fastest growing religions, as it is legally known, in this country.
In Britain, we are beginning to see that Satanism is widespread. From the contacts we have through social services, voluntary agencies and the police, we are beginning to monitor the situation, therefore developing a picture which is
good to know America isn't the only country with a bunch of Christian crackpots.
Showing that we have a very serious problem.
The real Satanists, the hardcore Satanists, are involved in criminal activity, and for that reason...
We don't have any evidence of it, but I can feel it in my cockles.
...they are going to try and look as normal as possible, the better to be able to deceive you. They're doctors, they're lawyers, they're teachers, they're oftentimes people who are in positions of great influence over small children.
Priests, ministers, doctors, police officers, judges, businessmen, oilmen, teenagers, are all linked together for one purpose, to sacrifice whatever they want to Satan.
It would be a whole lot easier if these people wore, you know, had horns and a pitchfork and a red suit, but they just don't.
Is this just the general anxiety of Americans in suburbia not knowing their neighbors for the first time? Because, like, generations prior to this, Americans more or less knew their neighbors, right? They lived in small communities. The suburbs were they had been a thing since post-war, but they sort of became the standard of living for a lot of people by the 80s, and we were a couple generations in at that point. Had they just become so alienated from their neighbors and communities that they started coming up with paranoid delusions about who these people were since they didn't know them? Because, like, I'm so used to not knowing my neighbors and never knowing my neighbors, it doesn't even, you know, come into my brain to think anything paranoid about it. But if that's a new state of affairs, and you think it's normal and that you should know all of your neighbors, and all of a sudden you don't, you just turn into Tom Hanks from The Burbs and start assuming really weird things about them?
They could be your next...
In fairness, Tom Hanks in The Burbs was correct, but, you know what I mean.
door neighbor.
I know when I was involved in the Church of Satan, they were very proud of the fact that there was not a single military installation in the world that did not have an outpost of avowed Satanists. Satanists are drawn to the military because of the idea of war and death. You see, they view war as one gigantic human sacrifice.
Satanism, we are finding, is becoming international and interconnected. They are interconnected.
Introduction of the 24-hour news cycle. Wasn't that until the 90s? Because CNN was really the start of that, and CNN was like wasn't that like 1991 or 2? Hold on. Oh, 1980. I'm very sorry. I was very off about that one. My bad.
Britain, from one city to another, and into Europe and into America. A lot of money is involved, a lot of finance, and this finance is made through pornographic videos, through drugs, and through arms.
Just a Peach with a $1 tip says, Agatha Christie wrote about the fear of new people in the villages in the Miss Marple books.
As far as the attraction, I mean, what actually would make somebody become a Satanist? Well, for some people, in my case at least, it was a gradual infiltration. It was a move from things like ESP and flying saucers.
Oh, that's is that the Raelian symbol? Ugh.
And then just a very...
Raelism. For those that don't know, they're a cult. They're into UFO stuff. And their symbol is a Star of David with a swastika inside of it, which is not a great image.
Gradual, many-year slide into finally regarding Satan as my God.
I got into Satanism simply because of the promise of power and wealth, and by being invited to some parties which I went to, I was told I could have those things, but it was a special gift that I couldn't have until I had been initiated.
I think it can be put in one four-letter word, lust. And I don't just mean sexual lust. There is a lust for power that is part of our sinful nature. There is a lust, of course, for sexuality. And there is a kind of, C.S. Lewis talks about...
I'm sorry, the drawing of this is just so good.
Lust, of course.
I can just imagine she's like, are you ready to go again? And he's like, please, I'm so dry. I'm so dry. Let me take a 5-minute break. Sorry.
For sexuality. And there is a kind of, C.S. Lewis talks about it as a spiritual lust, as the kind of spiritual itch to want to somehow reach into the unknown. We're
hey, baby, want to scratch my spiritual itch?
Fascinated by it.
As a young boy of 13, 14, I practiced magic.
Okay, well, he's in a toga. All right. That's a choice. Oh, Temple of Olympus. All right, at least it's thematic.
When you're that age, there's no limit to the scope of your imagination. And so, everything magical that we'd heard of, we tempted. Calling forth the devil, invoking demons. We tried all these things, and with some effects.
In 1981, Mark's quest to experience the more powerful side of black magic led him to start his own satanic coven, the Temple of Olympus.
As far as I'm concerned,
how far away do you think the closest beer bong is to this guy?
magic
Like, are we talking meters, or are we talking, like, feet?
is about getting what you want. Magicians are people who get what they want.
The main theme of devil worshiping follows along the teachings of Aleister Crowley. Which is,
Negative 6 inches away. Oh, I don't like that Bit's message.
do what thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law.
Will our weirdos look this stupid 50 years from now? Oh, they look stupid now. Me too. I do it for solidarity, so they don't feel as lonely. At least when people come and see my thing years from now, if it still exists, I will be equally as embarrassing. And that's what we do this for.
You break all that down, all that means is
Humpty Dumpty turned into an evil wizard.
to do whatever you want to do. They cater to your needs to get you involved.
They want the quick, slick answers to life.
Ooh, quick slick.
By calling down these forces so they will be able to manipulate whatever they need.
If you're not popular, you are told that certain rituals, compassion rituals, will gain you popularity or gain you prestige with the opposite sex. And this is something that is also a lure to the Satanists. It's the basic elemental carnal lusts of the flesh that draw them in.
They taught me how to kill someone, a spell, how to kill someone.
So they gave you words that did nothing. How ominous.
Spell, how to get someone to lust for me.
We had a lot of spells that would you would use to hurt someone. Just knowing that we had that information there in front of us really gave us a sense of power.
From my experience, a child has turned to
Yeah, sure, I'll say whatever you want. Can I get out of jail now?
Satanism initially because of an emotional reason. We have many more children coming from single-parent families or where
Of course, when you get divorced, it turns your kid into a Satanist. That makes sense. This isn't just desperate Christian evangelicals trying to get people to stay in shitty marriages because of their religion.
The head of the home, the father, is not taking the fatherly role.
With teenagers especially.
Ooh, you better conform to our religious ideals, otherwise your kid's gonna turn into a murderer. Ooh, we're not lying to you. Ooh. Hydrate, will do.
The appeal is to rebellion. The appeal is to do whatever you can do to drive your parents crazy.
They want to supernaturally get back at their parents. And we have found a lot of teenagers wanting to do it that way. The other reason, I believe, is because the church has not met the needs of these teenagers. They have not seen the supernatural power of God in the church. They've not really seen the love of Christ amongst the people.
Oh, and you're doing such a great job illustrating it to them, clearly.
National news coverage brought the demented crimes of self-styled Satanist and serial murderer Richard Ramirez into public attention. His crimes included raping a woman in the same bed as the dead body of her husband, whom he had just killed. She then listened helplessly as Ramirez...
It really makes me mad when the Satanic Panic people tried to lay the crimes of human beings on Satanism instead of their own behavior or sociopathy or psychopathy. Very frustrating.
sodomized her 8-year-old son. Another woman was forced to swear allegiance to Satan as Ramirez beat and raped her, while yet another elderly lady had a pentagram carved on her thigh. Ramirez arrogantly brandished secret satanic symbols to the press. He flashed a 2-fingered devil sign to news reporters, prominently greeted the courtroom with, "Hail..."
And congrats, you're doing exactly what he wanted you to do, guys. You're taking him seriously. Hooray! Good job. You fell for the serial killer's ploy. You're so smart.
Satan, and conspicuously waved the pentagram drawn on his palm.
You don't understand me. You are not expected to. You are not capable of it. I am beyond your experience. I am beyond good and evil. I will be avenged. Lucifer dwells within us all.
Fucking asshole.
That's it.
Today, Satanism can be seen to be more blatant than ever
Oh, they really fucked up on that star, huh?
before. Satanic graffiti is no longer shocking, while recruiting, which was once hidden and obscure, is now visibly public. and sadly, youth are the chief targets.
Satanists want to recruit. We know that it's been going on for many years. This is not new, but their arrogance and their outwardness about the way they recruit is becoming unbelievable.
Recruiters will go out there into various high schools and draw kids into the system because they're very street smart, some of these Satanists, and they can draw these kids into it very seductively where their parents may not even know it.
Sometimes they'll simply suck them in through the local high schools, sex and drug parties.
Sex and drug parties. My favorite. Got invited to a lot of those in high school.
They may go to the local bus station, find the runaways down there, Skid Row, or they may come from very affluent families.
I've noticed that these kids are bored with society. They're bored with school. They're bored with some of the churches that are out there.
I have young people calling me regularly, telling me that they have been involved in some sort of animal mutilation sacrifice. And the reason why they say that they go out to these animal mutilation sacrifices is because they're provided with vodka or drugs, cocaine, or free sex. And they don't particularly like, as this one girl said to me, I don't really like to hear
blurred,
the squealing
but it's still not great to look at.
animals in the cemeteries when they do their rituals, but they give me free vodka.
Repeatedly,
what the fuck?
You'll see the drug usage being used. Sometimes the high priest or the high priestess won't use drugs because they may not be able to have that mental, spiritual control over the people that are in the actual coven, but they will then give it to their members.
And so to cover up what I'd seen and what I'd been taking part in, I started taking drugs, which they provided. So that was another reason for staying at the coven.
People always give away free drugs. That's definitely a thing that happens all the time.
They were providing me heroin.
The old proverb warning against wine, women and song has taken on new spiritual momentum. Sex, drugs and rock and roll is the modern cry of a rebellious youth. Satanist Aleister Crowley has indirectly influenced many leading rock groups, including the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin and Ozzy Osbourne, who even wrote a song about Crowley. Today's music industry commercializes satanic themes without concern for the souls they seduce. Even those bands who promote hardcore Satanism deny that they are Satanists, but admit that Satanism sells and that they are simply giving their fans what they want to hear.
Right, and you're doing the same, but on the opposite side of the coin. It's like a reciprocal ecosystem where you're feeding each other. You're a hypocrite.
Many bands get their ideas from horror films and
Night of the Demons
videos, which explicitly depict satanic rituals.
That's a really fun one, by the way, if you're looking for like a horror movie to watch. Good, like spooky house, a little bit Evil Dead, little bit B-movie Evil Dead-ish. Although I guess Evil Dead's already a little bit of a B-movie. I'm thinking more Evil Dead, too. Check out Night of the Demons. Pretty good.
Death, murder, and cruel tortures. Evidence
4 stars. Check it out.
Music laced with satanic overtones has played an important role in the lives of many of the teenagers who have been convicted of satanic killings. Night Stalker Richard Ramirez, obsessed with the music of the rock group AC/DC, admitted that their lyrics influenced his mayhem killings.
Peer pressure is especially important to the teenager, even more so. We all want to feel accepted, but teenagers need that stability in their lives of knowing that they are able to carry on relationships. And when the majority of their friends are wearing the heavy metal t-shirts and listening to the black metal music that...
Again, I think it's very funny because like the metalhead people I've known in my lives are just like nice dorks. I mean that again in a nice way, not pejoratively. They're just kind of nice nerds. It's fine. Metal is not evil.
Incorporates satanic lyrics. They feel compelled to belong to the group.
I see a lot of them that are getting involved in it. And it started out with the music, you know, not all rock music, mostly the things like the black metal or speed metal type things, where they have the heavy satanic type overtones to the music.
Your groups such as Venom, Slayer, Merciful Fate, these are bands that will blatantly teach these kids various occultic practices.
One of the more popular bands playing in London is a group called the Devoted Men, led by Mark, High Priest of the Temple of Olympus. Mark says he receives transmissions from demon gods and goddesses who give him...
Guys, he's using you for publicity, you stupid asshole. He's on stage holding a fake machine gun with a belt loading, like, I don't know what it's called, the belt that you have the fucking bullets on for a belt-loaded gun. He's clearly doing this for publicity. When you see someone who's a musician on stage doing this, they're willing to do anything to get publicity. And I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it is what it is. He's clearly doing theatrical things to get attention, and you are giving him that. Lennon Cat with 40 bits says, I know we've covered the obvious hypocrisy, but it's really good that Christians never try to target children and indoctrinate them, and certainly never try to take advantage of the homelessness of children to indoctrinate them into their religion. On an entirely unrelated note, the Ohio House passed a bill that demands the positive impacts of Christianity be taught in schools. That's blatantly unconstitutional.
The music and lyrics to perform on stage.
Very frequently there's this otherworldliness about the words themselves. It's almost...
I'm glad that as a Michigander, my opinion that Ohio is dog shit is continually vindicated year over year.
As if we're not writing the words, but we're just, our hand is performing the action, but it's not our mind. Devoted Men take the music.
Reminder, by the way, we are doing our Patreon and YouTube member-only stream after this, so if you want to be a part of that, make sure you join as a member on YouTube or a paid member on Patreon.
Music that we write for the Temple of Olympus.
And like the stream on YouTube, and if you want to help out, you can use the tip link. All right.
And perform
it was very abrupt the way I said, all right.
So.
I'm still adjusting to the meds. I don't know if you can tell, and it feels weird to talk. Like, I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm talking a little slower than I used to. The meds have made my brain slow down. At least that's what it feels like. I don't mean that in a bad way, necessarily. It just feels like sometimes I'm, like, having to think about what I'm saying a lot more.
The night spots and venues before a live, young audience. Basically present our message.
The band's main function is to recruit new members into the outer circle of Mark's satanic cult. High priestesses Sarah and Julianne left the cult due to the inner circle's heavy dependence on black magic and perverted sex rituals.
The idea of the Devoted Men, which was the band that they had, was another way to try and get world domination. They thought that by being a successful rock band that they'd get the money to go to the States and open up an enormous complex religion over there.
When you first joined the Temple of Olympus, you'd attend an outer circle meeting, and from going along to that you wouldn't realise what was really going on in the Temple of Olympus at all.
Yeah, they're falling for the promotional stuff for the band, basically.
Yeah. You'd be offering flowers and wine and reading out poetry, and everything would be very sweet and very lovely.
In Britain, we are seeing from the recruitment programs that we are watching and from the contact magazines that we have, that what is being advertised and what is actually happening in the coven are two different...
German Cow JJ says, I looked it up. This band didn't exist and was made up for this piece. Are you kidding? Man, fundamentalist Christians should stop lying. You know how the Bible says you shouldn't give false witness? Maybe you should stop lying, you liars who lie, you fucking liars. Oh my god, I'm pissed off now. Fucking liars. Oh my god.
Things.
We were told to use whitewash liberally and to cover up any signs of...
You see what I mean about the last video we watched about how I was like, does she even believe any of this? Or is it like she believes the stuff is true, but she thinks lying about a story is like a justified white lie? They lie about this stuff all the time. It's like baked into certain kinds of evangelical Christianity where they get taught lying about your conversion or lying about like things to get people to join Christianity is righteous. Again, that's not a thing in most of Christianity, but it is in very specific fundamentalist sects. They believe that lying in order to get people to the Lord is justified, and it's fucking sick. It's so gross. Lance with 100 bits says, lying for Jesus is clearly acceptable evidence. Discovery Institute, Creation Ministries International, and Answers in Genesis. Yeah, good examples.
Any shades of black magic at all that were in the inner order?
And there are many other orders who put on this front of being fairly innocent, but actually when the people are involved and initiated, they see that they're being trained into prostitution, in pornography, as well as into Satanism itself as a religion.
When I was involved in Satanism, we basically recruited from the teenage years, but today it's becoming very apparent that they are trying to get children at a very young age, and this is done partially through the use of the media.
Again, these are people that try to take children and get them in Sunday school as quickly as possible. This is projection. They are projecting what they are doing to children onto imaginary enemies.
Through things like cartoons, which begin with ideas that there is good magic and there is bad magic, and it's okay if you use the
You
good.
literally believe that too. You just call good magic miracles. I'm so sick of this. Christians also believe in magic. If you're a literalist, you believe in magic. You just think it's the power of God or whatever.
Magic, demonic characters, little demon figurines that kids buy.
He-Man, on the cartoon He-Man, you have people...
Masters of the universe.
Calling down fire. You have people calling down power into themselves from occult, unseen, hidden sources through talismans.
It's not unknown. It's the power of Grayskull.
And through chanting.
He says it with his mouth.
And you have these people saying magic words.
Ooh,
and
She-Ra.
Then they are empowered.
When I was in the crazy house, I met someone who was very into She-Ra.
Empowered and endued with power. So that child looks at that and says, I want to be powerful.
Children are being programmed into occult practices by the cartoons and games and stories that they see on television. It seems harmless and fun and exciting.
Games like Dungeons and Dragons incorporate actual occult practices into...
Was it related to what? The reason she was in there? No. No.
the body of the game, where you are actually asked to take on an occult persona that has powers.
Believe it or not, you can learn spells right out of Dungeons and Dragons. Kids will learn them from...
Jay's a Proxy says that Bill guy doesn't have an English Wikipedia, but he does have a German one. The first sentence, according to the translation, says, he claims to have formerly been a Satanist, a member of Thelema, a Wiccan, a Rosicrucian, a Freemason, and a Mormon. Critics accuse him of making these claims up to market his books. He literally could not have been all of those things. You literally cannot be all of those things reasonably. So that's hilarious.
The Ouija board.
Wow, lots of con artists.
I have interviewed kids who have played the Ouija board, and the Ouija board literally told them how to draw a 5-pointed star and how to do a particular spell.
You learn how to draw a 5-pointed star like in kindergarten. It's a basic shape. Oh, there's someone trying to proselytize in chat. That's great. Hi, please stop. Please don't do that. That's not what we're doing here. So if you keep doing that, you're going to get banned. Because that's not what we're doing here. Okay? If you want to hang out, you're allowed to. But if you want to be a little narcissist and turn this into making this about you and your spiritual journey, you can fuck right off. So how about you stop it? Thanks.
What gave us that spell, one of the things it told us to do was to draw a pentagram. And we had to chant a certain chant, and we burned 2 black candles.
Sometimes children themselves who have played with a
Y'all are gonna scare the person and make them think we're actually Satanists. Which is a little funny.
Ouija boards.
But don't do that.
Believing it to be a bit of fun. They haven't been able to sleep. They've had nightmares, and their lives have been completely changed because of some involvement which they thought was innocent, which they thought was harmless.
The Ouija board wasn't enough, so we started getting into the incense books, potions, all kinds of stuff.
Why not? Because they're gonna use it and incorporate it into their persecutorial fantasies.
I went to the school library.
They're gonna think to themselves, oh, I went into this chat and they were all Satanists. There's Satanists everywhere. They're already clearly paranoid.
I asked for books on the occult, thinking I'd find one or two. And there was a whole huge section on the black arts, on witchcraft, on every kind of aspect of the occult that you should want. As I looked, I came across a prayer to Lucifer. Well, I didn't know who Lucifer was.
Ooh, that's a good picture. That's a funny one. You know what? If you have horns, why not use them as a candle holder? That's some good thinking on that goat man's part.
Was because I didn't have a Christian background.
Hydrate, will do.
But it said if you pray this prayer for a month, then you will get everything that you want and more.
Satanism gives you a sense of power. It gives you a feeling that you have power over your own life. Of course, it's the ultimate delusion, because actually what
they
you
blurred out the boobs.
Have done is you have totally surrendered control of your life to a demented, brilliant psychopath, Satan himself.
It's very tempting for them.
I'm going to be right back. I have to use the bathroom. Don't go anywhere. While I'm gone, Cher will tell you about, Amadeus, Amadeus. Amadeus. Oh, come and rock me, Amadeus. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that.
To take hold of these promises, and sadly Satan is such a liar, you know, and he's cheating these young people, and I care very much. I care very much. They're being cheated, conned, and they will eventually die. And a lot of them, it is because they have at some point been involved with the occult, and they die because they can't face the fact that the promises weren't kept.
Satanic rituals are shrouded in secrecy. New recruits are often blindfolded when taken to the ritual location, or drugged, so that their recollections are blurred and their will to resist is eliminated.
Oh, this is going to get into the, like, false memory stuff, isn't it? So many people had false memories implanted during this period. Really sick.
I was blindfolded, taken to the Satanist temple. And when I got in there, I was astonished, to say the least. There was about 400 people or more. They stood and they were worshipping the devil. There were effigies of Satan, half man and half beast, around the walls. There was a high altar, and on the altar there were cups and knives. The chief Satanist sat on a throne-like seat. He was robed and hooded. Around him, in a semicircle, stood some 13 priests and priestesses. Of course, you were told, you know, not to say anything to anybody, because it was the keynote of the movement was secrecy. And little wonder when you knew what went on in there.
In Satanism, sex is not only used to lure new recruits, but in a ritual context, sex is also believed to be an important method of inducing power.
In the sex ritual, it can be involving either a child, a teenager, or someone in the group, either voluntarily or involuntary.
You have to have sex and be initiated with the chief priest. After the chief priest has had you, you know, anybody can.
One of the biggest rituals I was in was the marriage ritual, and that was where me and my soulmate had to get married. It was required that the male and the female that were getting married sleep with the rest of the other group. So the female that was getting married to me would sleep with the guys, and I'd sleep with the girls.
Bacchus is...
All the people that implanted this stuff should be in prison for the rest of their lives. Trauma like this isn't based on real events, but if you believe an event like that happened to you, it's still traumatic, because it's still in your brain. I feel so bad for these people.
The Roman god of wine. He's also god of madness and frenzy. So we had a bacchanalia, which was basically, it was supposed to be an orgy. We had a guest for that one, a young boy. And the energy that was raised from that was used to send all our enemies mad.
Sex is very much a sacred thing for magicians of all backgrounds. And it's a very powerful thing.
I love the outfit.
And it's
so
one of the
good.
most natural things in the world. In a ritual context, it loses none of that naturalness.
Sarah, another priestess, and myself used to have to do lesbian type dances in front of Mark.
What's a lesbian type dance? Lesbian type dances.
Used to have to do lesbian type dances in front of Mark, but a lot of this went on.
Do I need to? Okay? Someone else said it, so probably lesbian type dances. Let me record that real quick.
Another priestess and myself used to have to do lesbian type dances in front of Mark, but a lot of this went on.
All right, got it. Thank you. I'll add that later.
We were always opening...
Lesbian type dances. Oh, we can put it next to this one.
So anyway, I just came out of Wendy's, and there was 8, I shit you not, 8 homosexuals there having lunch.
I get good sound clips. I watch weird people.
Courage to do that sort of thing in front of Mark.
Lesbian type dances.
It was as if we were entertaining the gods.
In Satanism, sadomasochism is way out in the open. I mean, you know, all sorts of tortures and things are done to raise power.
We're seeing now what is known as sadomasochistic forms of Satanism, where they'll go in there and they'll self-mutilate each other, or they'll sadistically...
Not self-mutilation if they're doing it to each other, is it?
use one of the other coven members just for their own simple gratification.
Boy, what a shame. I sure... No! Filter! Lennon Cat with 40 bits says, I'm curious if these see this as not lying, but as something more akin to a hell house where it's theater designed to convince people to be scared of Satan and hell. It's possible. That might be how they rationalize it. It's still a lie, but that might be the rationalization they give themselves to justify the lie.
Drawings by children reveal how they were forced to participate in atrocious satanic rituals involving animal and human sacrifice, sometimes even compelled to eat raw meat and drink blood. Heartbreaking accounts detail how children were deliberately trapped in cages or graves for hours at a time, sometimes even with snakes, how they were defecated and urinated on, sodomized and raped by adults in satanic ceremonies. Sometimes adults would wear robes similar to Christian clergy and perform rituals in Christian churches, not only to mock God, but to terrorize the children against a belief in biblical Christianity.
I think you're doing a pretty good job of that yourself by being a liar.
And today, more and more cases are...
Biblical Christianity, aka however my personal pastor interprets the Bible. That's what I go with. I don't like there being a pope. I like there being 10,000 mini-popes all across the country at people's personal churches.
Are revealing an international link between child pornography and Satanism.
One of the things that seems to be real consistent with ritual child abuse in your hardcore type groups is the fact that it's almost an indoctrination method to make that child become part of that group.
If they can ritually abuse children, if they can in any way sexually abuse children, anything to destroy a child's innocence or their trust or their wonder at the world, they will do it.
Satanism exists in this country as it exists elsewhere. It is appallingly evil.
Protestantism might have been a mistake. Protestantism was a mistake. Catholicism was a mistake that happened first. It's all a mistake. This is all bad. Starting to think human beings might be a little bit superstitious and irrational.
It's about murder. It is about child abuse. It's about sexual abuse. It is no joke and must be taken seriously and must be dealt with. The most tragic stories that I've ever heard are where a child has told people what's been happening and the adults have said, don't be stupid, that doesn't happen in this country.
The problem we're
It doesn't happen anywhere in the way you're describing.
coming across is that the higher officials
Has there ever been any substantiated satanic ritual abuse? No.
in these public organizations
If there was, it would be in every one of these videos.
do not want to acknowledge that this is occurring.
Is the court system able to handle this type of philosophy? Do they believe in Satanism? I mean, a lot of people just laugh at it.
One of the more powerful rituals in Satanism is the Black Mass, a parody of the Catholic Mass in which the text is said backwards and in which many other sacred Christian traditions are mocked.
In Satanism, you have rituals that are designed, first of all...
It's funny that they're offended that anyone would mock them. Meanwhile, they call every religion that isn't theirs satanic, but it's an affront. It's an affront to nature itself if you mock Christianity, but all of a sudden, it's okay for them to call everyone else satanic. It's just sick.
To deliberately mock
It's
God.
narcissistic. It's narcissism. Their beliefs come first and everyone else can get fucked.
So in our particular type of Satanism, we would mock, like, say, the Catholic Mass. We would consecrate communion hosts, and then we would do things like stamp on them or urinate on them or other things, believing that by doing that...
That's some real edgy boy shit right there.
We were somehow...
What if I took a thing and I peed on it? Was Piss Christ a thing by this point? It's okay, this guy's just making up this story anyway, so it doesn't matter, but still.
Abusing God.
I was the altar, which...
Green guy with $1 tip says, Projection 101. Very much so.
Which involved me being naked, spread-eagled, on a low plinth. I had a candle in each hand. One of the other priestesses was a nun, was dressed up as a nun. she had to wee into a bucket, and that was used to aspergus, cover us in it. We had toast with little crosses on, little circles, and that was used as a sacrament, and it was placed up my whatever I can say on.
This is just more blood libel. Jewish people were accused of host desecration. Really? Same tactics, different century. So tired of these people.
American TV, and then it was placed
Could they just not? Could they just deal with their mental health crises in a normal way?
on my lips.
I'm obviously the poster child of that.
And that was how it was blessed. Then it was sprinkled with urine, and then it was thrown on the ground and had to be trampled by everybody. And then
Bumble Homestead with 100 bits says, bad news is the washer broke very bad and flooded the laundry room. Good news is we were already planning to replace it because husband was tired of replacing parts and the kitty likes it. Oh, that is an adorable kitty right there. Cats are the best thing ever. We don't deserve cats.
a lot of Latin guff was talked. Hail Satan, I rescind all previous allegiances to any other god. You're the supreme, that sort of stuff. All the power that was raised through this ritual was used for killing off Christians.
Satanists believe that sexual perversions combined with the spilling of innocent blood conjures up the strongest powers. Reports show animals including dogs, cats, goats and horses being savaged.
By the way, QAnon does all this shit too. This is just QAnon again, although I should say QAnon is just Satanic Panic again. Same kind of stuff. Cthulhu Flower with 33 months. Ooh, 33. Ominous. Says, why do they always think others' worship is about mocking them? I mean, are yours about mocking others, or are they about you and your God? Like everything else, they just do exactly the opposite of what the Bible supposedly teaches them to be. They are petulant children. They are petulant, narcissistic children who cannot understand that not only is not everything about them, most things aren't about them. Their worldviews are incredibly myopic to the point when they cannot put themselves in other people's shoes, therefore they cannot imagine other people doing things for reasons outside of their own imagining, and their imaginations are not very good. They're full of persecutory fantasies about people trying to murder them or destroy them for being part of the biggest religious group on the planet, which is so wild when you think about it, when you say it out loud. It really does kind of drive you crazy, doesn't it? That was words.
Savagely skinned alive, having their blood drained, organs removed, or being split open and nailed to upside-down crosses. Interestingly, Humane Society officials note that many mass murderers were originally involved in animal mutilations.
We have an epidemic of young people participating in some strata of Satanism. Now, that doesn't mean that they're all out sacrificing human beings, but they may very well be doing the rituals that involve mutilation of animals. One fire department individual told me all of the woods around our area.
I'm just not censoring it because it's a chicken, I guess.
If you kill an animal, that exerts a tremendous amount of energy that the people there can sort of vampirize on.
By the way, there's about 20 minutes left in this video, and then I'm gonna take probably a 10 or 15 minute break, and then we're gonna do the Patreon and YouTube member only show. Like I said, this is the last normal stream of the month, because tomorrow I am busy, but I should be back on the 1st.
And so animals would be slain, and this is especially true on the high holidays like Beltane and Samhain, Halloween and May Eve.
I had my incredibly sharp knife, and there was drumming going on in the background, and I thought, you know, it was going to be amazing, and then I just cut its head off like that, suddenly, and that was it.
They brought in alive a white cockerel, the symbol of denial.
Ugh,
and they
stop showing me dead birds.
And they slit its throat, and they caught the blood in one of the cups from the high altar. My arm was cut. They stirred the blood in the cup with a knife. I had to drink that blood, put my finger in the blood, and sign a real parchment, not a silly scrap of paper, but a real proper parchment that I would say.
Where do you get parchment from in the 1980s? And do you just buy one piece, or do you buy in bulk? Do you tell them you're buying it for satanic ritual purposes?
Serve the devil.
Because you can't buy it online. So you got to go to like an actual stationery store, right?
The rest of my life.
I would strap the animal into the middle of the pentagram. Then I would take a portion of the blood or the body and drink it or eat it. I believed that by doing this, more power and more ability was being placed into my body.
There's something about sacrifice. If you do it once, you want to do it all the time. Once you've actually passed the barrier of sacrificing an animal, you get this sort of bloodlust where you really want to do it. And I really wanted to do it.
It's believed that if you just kill an animal, that's not much good. You've got to kill it slowly because, and this would be true of a person too, of course, that the screams and that the agony of the animal would contribute to the high level of power.
Again, this is just remixed in QAnon to be adrenochrome and how they think that their political enemies need to torture literal children in order for their plans to work to get adrenochrome. Same thing, different skin.
What results we had. After just the first ritual.
Oh shit. One sec. That's an ominous text. That is an ominous text to send on its own. Jesus Christ.
We were moved to throw every effort into the successive workings. The power, the response.
Devil worshiping in the community can just stigmatize that community beyond repair. Probably one of the biggest problems would have to be political. They want to keep it under wraps as much as possible.
Yeah, because they don't want a mass hysteria that you're already taking part in by being a part of this interview because their claims are bullshit.
The reason some of it's being covered up specifically is for political reasons. It's obvious. For instance, a very wealthy community who's plagued with a animal sacrifice in the community. Let's use cats, for instance. If the mayor of that particular community allows that to be published, what's going to happen to the property value in there? They're going to say there's all sorts of Satanists. Let's not bring...
Got to come up with all sorts of conspiracies as to why this isn't bigger news, because it's not true, so you got to come up with a bunch of bullshit justifications. Freyline says, which is just a remix of the belief that Jewish people tortured and drank the blood of Christian children. Yep, it's blood libel all the way down.
...that up.
Animals.
Human beings basically have like 3 things that they accuse people of when they absolutely want to dehumanize them. Crimes against children, cannibalism, and doing things that are incredibly sacrilegious. Those are the big 3 right there.
Sacrifices is commonplace today. And in the order that I was involved in years ago,
Jesus Christ, Green Guy. Thank you. Green Guy with a $99 tip. I don't think I can read that. I don't think I can read that message, so I'm not going to, but thank you. We're very close to our goal now. We're only a little over $250 away. Thank you, Green Guy. If you give me a different message to read, I'll read it, but I can't read that. Jesus.
was even human sacrifice.
Does it deal with Green Guy's butt? Nope! No, it doesn't.
This lady in a black robe came forward with this little baby. And at first I didn't realize it was a real baby. And she just laid it on the altar. It was breathing, but it wasn't crying. And then the high priest just took the athame, or the ceremonial dagger, and just cut the baby's throat and caught the blood in a chalice. At that point, I was staggering, reeling. I thought I was just going to throw up. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. But by then, I was so scared that I just stood there. And then when I was led forward, I thought, this is it, it's your turn, they're going to kill you. And I was lifted up onto the altar. Now, I at that time was still in white. It was part of a sacrifice known as the sacrifice of the White Virgin. And the same blood that had come from the baby was daubed all over my body. Then the high priest raped me. And I think at that moment...
Sorry, what was her name? I missed it. Real quick, I gotta look up something in my book and check if it's a person I think it might be.
I was just... the fact I was still alive went through my mind. I then had to sign in blood a parchment stating that I would...
Sorry, actually, where the heck is my Satanic Panic book? It used to be up here. Oh, there it is. Sorry, I see it.
Never, ever reveal what had happened in a covenant. If I did, I would die.
If we look at the number of children that are missing, the number of teenagers that are missing, I think we can probably, with some degree of safety, assume that...
This is a really great book, by the way. You can find this in most... I know they sold this on Vinegar Syndrome's website, but you might also be able to find it at your local bookstore, especially if they have a good horror or occult section. This is a book called Satanic Panic, Pop Cultural Paranoia in the 1980s. This is an incredible resource full of all sorts of essays written by a variety of authors, all about the Satanic Panic and pop culture and their intersection in the 1980s. Really great stuff. There's also a good documentary called Satan Wants You that's all about the Satanic Panic, and in particular, the origins of it. And there was a particular psychiatrist who was just the biggest scumbag. Let me check. Is that her? Hold on.
We look
what had happened in a couple.
Okay, I don't think that's her. This isn't the same woman, right? Is that a different woman, or is that the same? Oh, wait, is that the same woman? What was her name? I missed it. Because her name was Michelle. Kind of looks like her, but the age is wrong. Because this would have been the 80s, right? It's a different woman. Same jawline. Looks like her. Okay. Either way, whether this is her or not, a lot of this business was started with this lady. This was her psychiatrist. His name was... what was his name? Dr. Pazder, P-A-Z-D-E-R. He injected a bunch of false memories into her, and then he did a bunch of really... He slept with her. He slept with her. He married her while they were still doing this, while she was still his patient, while he was, like, writing books with her, and while they were doing these, like, therapy sessions. Like, I cannot express to you how antithetical everything he did was to the philosophy and ethics of psychiatry. He's a disgusting monster. He groomed his patient. He injected her with all sorts of false memories that traumatized her, and then used her as a prop to go on book tours. So I don't know if this is her, or if it's just someone else who kind of looks like her, but genuinely, be aware, so much of this was caused by a selfish person abusing his patient. Disgusting. Green guy with the tip says, Hannah, you're so cute. Thank you. And Drops a Lot with a $50 tip says, your Satanic Panic content is my favorite, Hannah. Thank you. Thank you for the tip. We're very close to the goal. Thank you very much.
If I did, I would die.
How was he exposed? Basic journalism. It took like decades for a journalist to actually look into the claims that he was making on her behalf. Because while she wrote the book, and she was there during interviews, generally he would answer the questions in her stead. But even then, there were factual claims that she was making that could be looked into. It literally took years and years for any journalist to do the bare minimum and look into the time frame of the claims she was making to prove that they were literally impossible. She claimed that she was kidnapped between certain periods of time and abused by this satanic cult. And the journalist was able to go to her hometown and go to her high school or middle school or whatever it was, and was able to find the yearbooks from those years. She was in them. She was fine. None of it ever happened. Like, it was the bare minimum a journalist could have done, and no one did it. No one was asking questions. So much in this world happens, and people get away with it because people don't ask questions, because they might think it's rude, or they might think it's too much work, or they're afraid of what they're going to find. Ask questions, because a lot of people lie, or a lot of people are at least mistaken. You need to ask those questions, because if you don't, no one will. And you're going to end up in situations like this where countless people are harmed, where lives are ruined because you decided, I'm sure someone looked into it. They didn't. Skifazoa with 100 bits says, reminds me of the anti-vax doctor. Yes, Andrew Wakefield, scumbag of the millennium. Anyway, continuing.
If we look at the number of children that are missing, the number of teenagers that are missing, I think we can probably, with some degree of...
Green guy says, sounds like me and my wife. Oh, that sounds profoundly abusive then.
Safety, assume that a significant percentage of them are ending up dead because of ritual satanic murder. And this is because there are more and more Satanists.
Are human beings being sacrificed? Yes, they are. It's not all the time.
Green guy says, I lie, I'm not green. I don't believe you.
What you think, whether they're dragged and carted away and laid on some altar somewhere and cut open and had body parts removed. That's not always what happens. It may be just as simple as someone being mad at someone and going up and blowing their head off with a gun, or stabbing them with a knife, or even poisoning them. There's a lot of things that I would look for to make a determination on a ritualistic crime. It could be marks that are found at the scene, maybe things like a pentagram.
That is funny that he's basically saying that no matter what the circumstance of the crime is, if you draw a pentagram or something, you can send me down a wild rabbit hole as an officer. Do you know how many people probably got away with murder in the 80s because they were desperate and were like, I don't know, I'll scrawl a pentagram, and they just sent the cops down an insane rabbit hole of nonsense where they didn't look into, like, realistic explanations for the murder?
It may be an upside-down cross. Could be, again, the number 666. Could be a loss of blood in the body.
Lance with 100 bits says, girl meets boy, boy gaslights girl, girl falls in love with boy? Sounds like the latest book talk sensation romantasy hit.
Certain parts removed in a certain manner. They're victims. Some are targeted for specific reasons. One, because they wouldn't join. Two, because they did join and they want to drop out. Some of their victims are themselves. They voluntarily do it.
When you join Satanism, you take an oath that will state that you're there till you die. And the biggest gift...
I think cops probably missed the satanic panic because it was a really good excuse not to do their jobs. And boy, cops sure hate to do their jobs.
That you can give Satan...
Stone Corbell, thanks for gifting a sub and kicking off a hype train.
...is to die voluntarily as a sacrifice.
Oh wow, Regina with the $10 tip says, not sure if you've mentioned it, but we believe The Children by Richard Beck is a really good book for learning more about the child abuse panic of the 80s. We Believe the Children. Let me add that to my list on Amazon real quick so I don't forget. If you guys ever have book recommendations that have to do with, like, cults, delusions, conspiracy theories, stuff like this, I always love it, by the way, so please always recommend stuff like that. We Believe the Children. Richard Beck. Perfect. Adding to my list right now. Thank you. I'll check that out sometime. I think I have some Audible credits, too, so maybe I'll see if there's an audiobook of that.
The human being is a precious instrument in the eyes of the Lord. If somebody can come along, a Satanist, come along and destroy, murder something that God loves, that's just what the devil wants.
these various satanic covens that meet need to have this kind of sacrifice.
Green guy with another tip that I can't read.
For their high...
It's innuendo about his wife.
Festival days, and it's sort of a, I hate to say it like this, but it's like supply and demand. The more satanic covens...
Just a peach, your husband is trying to flirt with you through my chat, by the way.
There are.
I just don't want to read it.
More children and babies and teenagers are going to be brought out and sacrificed. And again, it is the destruction of innocence that they seek. That's why children are sought. That's why teenagers are sought. That's why, oddly enough, Christians are sought.
In my interviews with former Satanists and their victims, it's really a common thing to perform sacrifices and rituals on religious holidays, specifically Christmas and Easter, and when they do it on those days, simply to blaspheme the Christian faith.
In many satanic groups, a mother will be asked to sacrifice her own child to Satan, and she may even, in fact, be ritually impregnated to do that. She may even specifically have been impregnated, and then when the child is born, they never register the child as being born, and they kill it in a very horrible way. And sometimes...
Again, they just have these explanations for why there's no evidence of any of this, so they have to come up with the no birth certificate thing.
The mother herself is actually asked to do it.
From one of the nicer, quieter, more beautiful parts of England, namely the county of Surrey, where people would find it hard to believe that these things go on, there is a confession from
I think the lack of evidence is probably the thing keeping people from it the most.
Woman who said that her baby, when born, was used as a human sacrifice and satanic.
And famously, no one is crazy, so that's really good. Oh shit, Nemesaur with a $57 tip says there, now we are exactly 90% of the way to the tip goal. Holy shit, we are. We're at 1,126 out of 1,250. Thank you. Just a Peach says, thank you for telling me. I'm in the living room with the pets, and he is in the office. So sorry. You're fine. You're fine.
Rituals. She said it herself. She has said it in public. What does one make of that other than a heartbreaking confession to something that's been a guilty secret for a long time?
Could be a mentally ill person. It's not that complicated. That's why you need evidence of things and not just the thing the person says.
Because this high priest could have his pick of any woman in the coven, and I was the youngest one there, it was usually me that was chosen. And then I got pregnant. And I was terrified. I didn't want the baby, but I didn't want it to end up on an altar. The law was that it was the master's baby, and therefore he could do as he wished with it. So at that point I ran away.
Audrey escaped, and unlike many others, her baby's life...
Oh, the name of this video is Devil Worship, The Rise of Satanism. Here's a link if you want to watch it in your own convenience without me.
...was not sacrificed...
It is almost done, though.
...to Satan. Ultimately, the purpose of Satanism is to commit atrocities against the Judeo-Christian God.
Poor God? Question mark?
His laws and his most precious creation, mankind.
Christians are the...
Man, you know what? I'm going to picture the serpent like this from now on, with ears and everything. Perfect.
Satanist worst enemy. They are out to torment you. They are out to blackmail you. They will even kill you. They even tried to kill me when I came out of black witchcraft.
If you're in a church where the Spirit of God is really moving and where the Word of God is really being preached and where prayer is really going up to heaven for the salvation of souls, then they're going to regard you as their mortal enemies, and they're going to be out there trying everything they can to destroy, to kill, and to maim, because that is, of course, the nature of Satan, and that is also the nature of his followers. They will try and infiltrate your church. They will try and set up whispering campaigns against the pastor and the elders. They may even try to...
So anytime the pastor is concerned that the congregation doesn't agree with him, he can now rationalize it as secret Satanists undermining him.
Seduce the pastor.
For 2 years, I was involved in the Baptist church. I was constantly complaining about the pastor's sermons being too long, being too dry, sowing discord between the people, gossiping about others.
As each member is initiated into the coven, they are commissioned to do a job. And one individual's job may be to desecrate a church.
They'll destroy or desecrate churches, where they'll spray paint Satan right on the altar, just to put fear into that Christian church.
Some Satanists who were handpicked, the most powerful ones, were sent into churches to disrupt the meeting. And we stopped people from going forward when they asked for people to go forward and accept Christ as their Saviour.
I personally,
like physically,
was trained to learn all of the Christian jargon, you know, to say hallelujah and praise the Lord and do all the right things, and yet I had no more idea of Jesus being my Savior than a man on the moon.
If you can tear down the prayer foundation of a church, then you've destroyed that church. And that's what every witch or Satanist plans to do when they go into a church, is to tear down that prayer foundation, and the rest of the church goes quickly after that.
You did things just because they were evil, just because you knew they hurt God, not because they gave you pleasure, but because you knew that it was a sin against God.
I had a 17-year-old boy call me and tell me that a year prior to his call, he was considering joining a Satanic
Thanks for the tip, green guy.
group. And he said the only thing that stopped him from joining was that he had to violate every one of the 10 Commandments. He said he was willing to do that, except they were pushing for him to kill one of his parents. And that snapped him to reality.
Absolute truth guides you. Relative truth constantly changes. If it constantly changes, your defense mechanisms can rationalize things.
Famously, Christians never rationalize anything.
Your morals within your life will just go right down the drain, especially when you get into Satanism because of its perverted nature.
I just didn't have any morals at all. I believe that the more I did on this earth to promote Satan and Satan worship and black witchcraft, I'd have a greater place later on when Satan himself would rule on the earth.
The secularization of our society, the media, schools, churches, and government institutions.
The secularization of churches, did you just say? What does that even mean?
Has created a vacuum whereby Satanism has been able to move in and capture the hearts and souls of a vulnerable generation. At no time in modern history has occultism in its various forms been so widely practiced as it is today. Here are some things that concerned parents can look out for.
You can see warning signs sometimes in a perfectly happy, healthy child who suddenly...
Profane Priestess says, you do things because it hurts God. How does one harm a being who is both omnipotent and omniscient? When they say God, imagine they're saying, my feelings. Imagine they're saying, part of my identity. Does that clear it up?
Changes so dramatically in his behavior. Or a child who goes missing for maybe 2 hours, say Friday night every week, and can't tell you where he's been. Or a child who begins to show...
Hell yeah to that guy!
And can't tell you where he's been.
Yeah, get it!
Or a child who
sweaty 80s man at a concert
begins to show signs or suspicions of drug abuse.
You will see the same withdrawal symptoms as you would with drug abuse, where there is a change in personality, aggression, a rebelliousness towards the parents, difficulty in sleeping, temper tantrums, and wanting to stay in their room so that they can play with the altar or call upon the gods.
Pay attention to what, his notebooks, things like that. What's he really scratching or drawing on his notebooks, What's he doing at home, Is he withdrawn into himself? Is he avoiding the rest of the family?
Look into the room. Or what kind of heavy metal albums are they listening to? Is it black metal, like Venom or Slayer or King Diamond? Or is it Ozzy Osbourne? Things like this? Or Motley Crue? Also look in the room.
I like that this is all dad rock now. Like, this is all shit that's considered like, Dad, you're into such dorky music. Time is a cruel mistress.
Do they got ritual paraphernalia in their drawers or under their bed or under their mattress?
You also need to be
Like
aware
it was so edgy until it wasn't, you know what I mean?
of what I call spiritual hygiene. The concept that if a child is bringing
He thinks you should wash your brain. If only we had a term for that.
home things, rock music posters, Dungeons and Dragons, little demonic toys, He-Man, Masters of the Universe.
He-Man is not demonic for the 50th time!
Any of these kind of things can be used as familiar objects, and that means that they are used by Satan to say, okay, you have given me a legal doorway to come into this house. You might be a Christian, but that doesn't matter. You have an idol in your house, I can come into your house, and I can assault your kids.
I had a mother call me and tell me about a 13-year-old daughter. The daughter was losing sleep and was vomiting blood. And she said this all happened after a ritual was performed on the daughter by another junior high school student. Now, I asked the mother, well, what about the child's room? Do you see anything in the room that would give you indication that she's really into this stuff? Well, she does have black candles in the room, and she has a skull, and she has heavy metal posters all over, and most of her clothing...
Sounds like she just likes Hot Topic.
...been buying is all black.
Well, you know, like old Hot Topic, not necessarily now Hot Topic.
I told the mother, I suggest you go into the room and clean it out. Many parents don't understand that they have the right, and not only the right, but the responsibility to go into their children's room. You are not violating their privacy because their privacy belongs to you.
Oh, that's sick. That is so sick. Your kids deserve privacy. They are owed privacy. They are human beings. I understand that you need to look out for your kids' well-being, but absolutely not. Your kid deserves privacy. Your kids have privacy. Give it to them. That's sick. You're sick. You're sick in the head.
The parent today has to spend time with their children. If they don't, this child may spend time with somebody that's very evil.
Keep track of where they're at.
What,
and
like you?
If they should say, well, you know, I'm just going to go over there to this party, say, well, fine, you can go, but I'm going to go with you.
The greatest protection a parent can do is to keep an open line of communication with their young people. That's the central theme that comes up over and over with kids. Well, I can't talk to my mom. I can't talk to my father.
Let them know right from the start it's okay to talk to you, you know. You're not going to condone them doing things wrong, you know, but you're not going to stop loving them either.
It's no good shouting and getting mad with the kid. It is time to put your family in order.
If we don't handle this now properly,
Satan rules!
In our church by teaching our Christian children where their protection lies, where their faith is, who is Satan, and where he is in position to the Christian gospel, then we are going to be rendering the next generation useless in defeating this problem, which is just escalating.
I stayed in the coven for 5 years. Now, it wasn't by choice. I was too afraid to leave. Plus the fact that however often I said to myself, I'm not going, I was drawn back.
I was thinking, I don't want to kill my firstborn. They questioned me about it, and, you know, of my group, they says, well, you know, when is it going to be born and everything, and I didn't really want to kill it, so I tried many ways to get out. I went to my high priest, and I told him, I says, these are the situations, and he says, I understand how you feel, and he says, I regret it now, because he had to do the same thing.
If you're in Satanism and you want to get out, you need to find a Bible-based church that has a pastor.
That's every church in America, by the way. What do you mean when they say Bible-based church, they mean a denomination that's the same as mine that uses the King James Bible.
Understands the problem. You may have to search in any given community.
Because in reality, Bible-based is just every church in America, virtually.
To find that pastor. But by all means, call, ask some penetrating questions. Number one, ask if they believe in the inerrancy of the Bible and the authority of the Word of God. Ask if they believe in a real devil. and then ask them if they believe that Jesus Christ died for their sins and rose again from the dead.
If you found a single quote-unquote Christian church that said no to that last question, I'll give you $10,000.
For their justification.
Because that's an oxymoron, right? You can't be a Christian church that doesn't believe Jesus is the Son of God that, like, died on the cross for your sins. That's like basically the crux of Christianity, is you believe that Jesus is the Son of God and that he died for your sins. Specifics around that might be different, but that's like it.
The minister came to see
I'm not actually going to give you $10,000 if you find a sect. I'm not doing it.
me,
You know what I mean, goddammit.
and he began to talk about the love of God. And I said, no, man, you don't know what I've done. I went along to this meeting because he said I should go and it would be good. And there they really talked about the love of God to set you free. He really did love me. Jesus died for me. And at that moment in me was born
Thanks for the tip, green
hope.
guy.
Something I hadn't had
$33. Ooh, it's the Freemason number. Spooky.
for a long time. And I thought, well, what if they're right?
I had sent in a check to the Church of Satan at one point just to pay my yearly dues. And when it came back from the bank, some lady had written on it, I'll be praying for you in the name of Jesus.
I'd call that bank and get them fired so quick. I'd be like, you're writing on my financial instruments about your fucking religious beliefs? Get out. Again, I think this story is completely made up. I think he made this up, but still, come on.
And of course, I thought that was a big joke. And from that time on, my satanic power wasn't worth beans.
I went into that meeting determined to disrupt the meeting any way that I could think. But here was a message that Jesus loved me and he could change me, he could take the darkness from me. And I realised something. There was nobody, not nobody, who really loved me. Never once did I hear Satan say, and I heard him speak many times, I love.
You know what freaks me out sometimes is the thought of how many human lies exist without anyone realizing. Like, imagine that everyone in this video, or at least the vast majority of them, are grifters, or at least people who are lying because they think they're doing the right thing by, you know, claiming to be former Satanists that turned, right? So that would mean that they're trying to appeal to current Satanists. But the problem is, the imagined version of Satanists that they're pretending to be don't really exist. So effectively, they're lying about who they are to appeal to an audience that doesn't exist. And they don't know they're doing this, and there's no one there to receive it. So effectively, all you have is people playing a performance for an audience that isn't real. So what even is this as a cultural artifact if it's just people lying into a camera for no reason? You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of life is like this, and we just don't see it because we have such narrow, myopic, subjective views of the world. How many things are just performative for no one? Probably too much. Just a Peach with a tip says, yes, there are several mostly humanist churches, some that use the Jefferson Bible. See, I wouldn't really consider that Christian, in my opinion. I'm not, that's, like, you might be following the teachings of the character of Jesus in the Bible, but to me, Christianity involves definitionally believing Jesus is the Son of God. Beyond that, I don't know.
Love you, because he doesn't love anybody.
Many disillusioned Satanists made the choice to terminate their alliance with Satan and give allegiance to Jesus Christ. Their decision, however, while ultimately liberating, was wrought with...
Ultimately, all these definitions, like all definitions, are human-made and subject to fuzzy lines, but that's pretty much where I'm at about it. Lance with 40 bits says, spreads these bits out on a black and white checkered floor in the shape of a Masonic triangle because I couldn't just send 33. Thank you.
Difficulties.
I mean, I had a lot of trouble going to church. I used to go into some churches and just throw up. I would go into other churches and start yelling and shouting, and I didn't know why. I really desperately wanted this new life, and I couldn't understand why I would react.
I'd throw over communion trays, and people thought I was crazy, and I just ran out of those meetings.
When you're into the cult, you're really pretty happy because Satan leaves you alone, you know, because you're pretty much destroying yourself. But when you get out of it, that's when he really tries to bring you down. He'll use your family.
Fight not to get to psychic fairs. Particular dates, I would...
Nemesaur says, I would argue that they aren't performing to convert Satanists. Instead, they're performing to other Christians to reinforce the sense of danger in the world. See, I would say that that's probably the primary function of the tape in actuality. That's probably what it served to actually do in the world. But I don't necessarily know if that was the intent behind the particular people in front of the camera lying. Does that make sense? Like, I don't think they thought to themselves, this will reinforce the beliefs that a bunch of Christians already have. I think they, at least in intent, believed that they were reaching out to someone that didn't exist.
Fight not to get...
I guess what I'm trying to say is it just feels like, how often are we performing for a non-existent audience? And in doing so, who even are we? You know what I mean? Like, when we're just, like, performing for no one. I don't know.
To a coven somewhere.
Once you get saved and out of this kind of stuff, you gotta renounce everything that you did in your past, and in the name of Jesus, you gotta renounce everything that you did. Otherwise, you're still gonna be haunted by a lot of that stuff.
When Jesus died, he didn't just die to save you, he died to break every bondage that Satan ever put you into. Now that was just like the best news I'd ever heard.
It's not God versus Satan. God's already won. It's a lot of people get that confused. Jesus could bring you out.
Do I know of any occasion where these people have been found out or investigated, or have they too been taken at face value? Mostly just the lack of evidence of their claims is what I've seen investigated. Like, obviously they don't have them with a secret recording saying they're full of shit, but like, generally when these people have been looked into, from what I've seen, there's just lack of evidence of what they're claiming. And the claims themselves are so out there that they just can't be taken at face value, you know? Not reasonably, at least.
Out of the occult, he's the way to go. I would say anything you're doing with the occult, get away from. It's not, Satan is lost, and if you're with him, then you're going to be one of the losers.
God is not...
Depraved Ambiance says, humans are hypersocial animals, and as such, we've internal audiences, so we have a socially acceptable way, even when entirely alone, just in case. Or as the kids would say, chat, is this real? Chat, are we cooked? Who's chat? You're chat. I'm chat. We're all chat.
Intimidated by any of his creatures, much less a rebellious creature. God is infinite. Satan is finite. God is all-powerful and all-present. He's present everywhere. Satan isn't. God is greater than Satan, and his power can be tapped into by merely trusting his Son. If you trust in
Thanks
Jesus,
for the tip, green guy.
you then have the authority over the principalities of darkness. So if you've only been a Christian for 5 minutes, you can resist the devil. And how do you do that? Through prayer. You just say, Lord, please take this presence away from me. And what father is going to turn his back on his child when a bully's present?
All of a sudden, I was clean. And I could relate to God as my Heavenly Father. Now that was very precious to me because I'd never had a father. And all of a sudden it wasn't God up there somewhere. It was God very, very real to me.
A person's worldview determines his actions. One of the major teachings of Satanism, as spelt out in LaVey's Satanic Bible, is self-indulgence. Contrast this with the teachings of Christ, who asks mankind to accept him as Savior, follow his example, and love and care for others unselfishly.
And worship him for eternity, and if you don't, he'll burn you.
There is
forever.
No neutrality. We either have to choose to apply biblical concepts to our lives, or by silence and non-commitment, we make a stand against them.
Sure, I'll do that one. So that's another Satanic Panic Saturday in the books. Thank you everyone so much for hanging out for another wonderful stream. I had a ton of fun. Necronis77, thank you so much for following. Welcome. So like I said, tomorrow I don't think I'll be streaming because I'm busy. I have some stuff I have to do. I'll tell you about it after the fact maybe, but I don't want to get into it. Nothing bad. Nothing bad. But, so I will be back Monday. Excited to see you then. And of course, right now I am going to go take a break, about 15 minutes or so, probably around there. And then we're going to do the patron and YouTube member only stream. Should be lots of fun. We're going to watch like a movie or something together, maybe like an old TV movie. Not exactly sure what. We'll find something, and it'll be a lot of fun. So if you are a patron or a YouTube member, I'll see you soon for that. Let's see who we're going to raid on Twitch. Oh, and if you're on YouTube, do me a favor, hit the like button. Thank you. Thanks for the stream. No problem, Tim and Daisy. Ooh, Cassifel is starting, it looks like. We can raid Cassifel. I feel like every time I raid Cassifel, the VTuber model boobs get bigger. In fairness, I started injectable hormones recently, and my boobs have been getting bigger too, so maybe it's the same thing. Alright, have a good night, everyone. I'll see you soon. Especially if you're a patron or a YouTube member. Have a great night. And, hail Satan, I guess? I don't know. Bye, everyone.